So me and Dominique became friends. We got close. We was like brother, sister, and we had sex every day, nonstop.
You said you all were like brother and sister?
We was friends. We was close like brother and sister. We was friends.
We was hanging together, Yana. We were only friends.
Yes.
That's a picture at my granny's funeral.
And it says, gotta love your siblings, laugh out loud, and I am my sister's keeper.
My grandmother made peace with me before she passed away. She told me about the rumors. She told me that she do not like my mother. Not only did my granny say that,
That
because
is
I started
not
to
true.
get up at funeral and tell them what my granny said, but I said that's not the proper time.
This is already a disaster. A pastor might have fathered a child with a woman 28 years younger. To make it wilder, another guy is outside waiting for a surprise no one wants.
You're a church pastor and bishop who may have fathered a child with a woman who's 28 years younger than you. So you admit you were involved with 3 different men during the time you conceived your daughter, including Mr. House.
Pastor House met Ms. Webster while moving for a church job. Instead of just prayers, he made it clear he had manly needs. He says they bonded over tragedies, but this is all leading to a paternity test.
I met her, we began to talk to Mom. I went through tragedy, I lost my child. She's kind of brought a connection. There was a connection, I thought she was hot. And after exchanging numbers, I decided that I wanted to follow up on this. So we set a date for the following week and we went out and, we just had a great time together.
Ms. Webster says they met at church. House says it was a fast food joint. Either way, things escalated fast. Then, on national TV, he calls her a hoochie.
But instead of that, it was like more, it led on to sexual, unprotected sex.
I didn't meet her at a church. I met her at a fast food joint and we exchanged the numbers.
That's wrong, Yana.
We
met at her.
Looked at each other and quickly she became a hoochie and that's what it was all about.
Excuse me,
Miles Jones arrives, thinking he's confirming fatherhood. Instead, he finds out about House. His face goes from happy to be here to what in the world.
So, Ms. Webster, you were in fact sleeping with someone else during that time.
Yes, sure.
But I wasn't.
Who's that person?
Mr. Miles Jones. He was a boyfriend. We knew each other for 5 years, but it was an on and off relationship.
House claims Webster used him for money, but she says he never gave her a dime. Miles Jones says he was the one buying diapers. Judge Lake roasts House, but first, they need to find the dad.
I think she's with me for money.
Well, how do you think that when you never even gave me a penny?
Because things could be, I did. She'll tell you that her phone was off. Her phone went on, my bankroll was on swollen, I kept her phone.
For baby Amelia, and just in case you end up being the father, we know we won't have any problems getting some child support.
Webster says she called House after getting pregnant, but his phone was disconnected. House swears he only found out 30 days ago. He stayed in town, but never heard from her.
When I found out I was pregnant, I was trying to contact Mr. House. His phone was disconnected. First, I never knew he left town. And then I didn't even get in contact to tell him until after I had my baby. He denied her. He wanted a DNA test. And for his money to be on full when I asked him for diapers and everything, where was that?
Miles Jones finds out 5 to 6 months into the pregnancy. He asks if the baby is his, and Webster vaguely says, it's a possibility. Not exactly reassuring.
I came over on a regular hookup to go meet up with her. We was gonna go out, do what we normally do. And then she said to me, I'm pregnant. I said, really? I said, how long? She was like, I'm about 5 to 6 months.
I'm pregnant. Did you then tell him, and you're the father?
No, I told him it's a possibility that he can be my baby's father.
The birth certificate has no father's name, but the baby has Miles Jones's last name. Everyone is confused. He insists he was there all along, but now it's time for a twist.
Let me look at this birth certificate.
Hold on.
I haven't even seen the birth certificate, but I did sign some papers at Amelia's birth.
Yes, and I told you that your name wasn't going on there because it was a possibility that you was not my baby father.
But I've been there since day one.
Nothing.
Exactly.
Nothing listed under the name of father. You made her last name Miles Jones.
That's my last name.
Yes.
House says he's holding back emotions after losing a child. Miles Jones hopes the baby is his, but he's not seeing the resemblance. The truth is coming.
Because I went through the tragedy and I lost a 6-year-old daughter. She was killed as well. I just keep that barrier there. I feel like it's safe for me. Yeah, when I was younger, I was hoping to have a child. I didn't have one. So when you get to this stage, I just want to guard my emotions, especially after hearing what I heard today.
Mr. Miles Jones, you are not her father.
This kicked off like a soap opera with no breaks. Ms. Robinson is furious. Her so-called friend, Ms. Jackson, slept with her son. Now Jackson claims he's the father, despite having a whole lineup of men. The courtroom turns into a reality show instantly.
You've opened this case for your son because you're furious with your former friend, the defendant, and is now claiming he fathered her child, even though you know she was sleeping with many more men.
Jackson doesn't hesitate. She admits it. No guilt, no shame. But she flips the script, saying Chaplin refuses to step up. Chaplin, looking like he got hit by a bus, denies being the father. The audience gasps, and we're just getting started.
Ms. Jackson,
Yes.
you admit you slept with your friend's son without her knowledge, but claim the one thing you know is the plaintiff is a deadbeat who has done nothing for your 3-month-old daughter, Milani, and that needs to change today.
Chaplin is way too confident for a guy on a paternity test show. He insists they were just friends, but also says Jackson had plenty of other options. Judge Lake gives him a look like, "Boy, do you hear yourself?" And then chaos erupts.
I'm absolutely sure I'm not the father, 100%
Explain.
positive, because during the time that I knew her, we never was in a relationship. We was only friends throughout the entire time. I've known her to talk to several other men.
Just talking? You gotta do more than talking to make a baby.
Oh yeah, well, whenever we used to hang out or whatever, she had multiple people coming around. You know, a guy was spending a lot of time.
Jackson isn't holding back. She claims they weren't just friends. They were very friendly, all day, every day. Then she calls his mom, cousin It, and his sister Shrek. The audience loses it. Reality TV gold.
Me and Dominique was having sex numerous of times every day. Okay, so therefore, for him to say that I was sleeping with somebody else, he's lying. The only one who got him thinking it is cousin It over there, which is his mother.
It.
And dang on
Yeah. Throughout the whole time I talked to this young lady, she had more than one cell phone.
Your Honor.
Hold on, let's get some order. Let's get some order. Let's get some order.
Robinson goes full mom mode. She took Jackson in, helped her, fed her, and Jackson repaid her by sleeping with her son. Robinson is personally offended and makes sure Jackson knows it, and somehow it's about to get even worse.
Me and her son
I'm
was
from the old
friends.
school. I'm 48 years
Girl,
old.
and you
where
dang
I
13
come
years
from,
older
and
than
any
me,
other
honey.
woman my age,
You're 3
I
years
don't
older
care
than
if
me,
he's
honey.
a fit or not.
It
You
doesn't
do not
matter.
sleep
He's
with
grown.
somebody
He's
who
grown.
your kids.
He's
You
grown.
don't sleep with my son when he had
Girl.
already had something going on. I don't give a dang if he is of age. I took the child in, and she
I don't
sat
need
with
you
my
to say
son
that
that hurt.
mama.
This is a life lesson in betrayal. Robinson took Jackson under her wing, never imagining she'd mess with her son. Just when it seems like it can't get worse, another bombshell drops.
She was a young girl out here that needed some help with 5 kids, ma'am. And I done been through what she been through. So my payment back was to sleep with my son.
You befriend her once you met her.
Yes.
And you all started what? You
Going to the school dances, I got pictures of that. They need to put it up there. I fed them. I put them in my house. All them pictures that you see, that we was to the school children's dance, Valentine dance.
Jackson attempts to justify it by saying she and Chaplin were like brother and sister. Judge Lake is baffled because that's not how siblings work. Jackson doubles down. The audience groans. Chaplin face palms. Even the courtroom walls are tired.
So me and Dominique became friends. We got close. We was like brother, sister, and we had sex every day, nonstop.
Miss Jackson, that sounds nasty. Now, you said you all were like brother and sister.
We was friends. We was close, like brother and sister. We was friends. Every time you see him, me and him hanging out together.
We was hanging together, Yana. We were only friends.
Having sex while we was friends.
You know what I'm saying? So after
Every night.
Chaplin enters let me tell y'all something mode. He reveals a random guy once stopped his car just to demand why Jackson wasn't answering his calls. And Jackson introduced Chaplin as her brother. He is speechless.
Not only that, one day we were walking down the street. A couple of guys were honking the horn, you know, trying to get her attention, but these are people that she knew, not just people who just thought she. And one guy stopped. He rode by and spoke, came back by and had to stop the car to speak to her. He was like, you know, why haven't you been answering my phone calls, or why haven't I been able to catch up with you? He ended up giving both of us a ride. She gets in the front seat with him, I get in the back seat. She's telling this man that I'm her brother.
Robinson is livid. Jackson admits to sleeping with one other guy, but insists Chaplin is the father. Robinson yells that if the test proves it, Chaplin is stepping up. The courtroom is chaos.
It was 2 married men she hinted me, but people that know me know I don't fool with married men,
Girl,
and I don't
stop
flow with
lying.
that, and you can't
Married
talk to
man,
me
liar.
about that. So she never told me the names, but she hinted it.
It was only one other man, but at the end of the day, me and Dominique was having sex every day. Shut up, Mario.
Miss
Minute, and I
Jackson.
hope while you up there riding him out, you can take care of this dang on child support when this DNA test come back.
Ooh.
Today.
Text messages reveal Chaplin was excited when the baby was born. Texting OMG, she's so beautiful. The audience gasps. Robinson, however, is still ready to fight.
So, Mr. Chaplin, oh my God, where's she at? I guess that's where.
Yes.
What you doing? Where is my daughter? Pound 7 ounce, 18 and a half inches, born at 5:39 a.m. Mr. Chaplin, you right. Oh my God. Yes, yes, yes. Hey, I want to see her.
Why you
ma'am.
ain't game?
Robinson delivers the line of the century. She told Chaplin to wait for Dana. Who's Dana? Oh, just her hilarious way of saying DNA. The courtroom cracks up, but the big moment is here.
They came and gave me a pregnancy test. I said, where you got it from? He said, her. I said, take her back to the clinic yourself. Wait, and then bring me that test back. He took her to the clinic. She took the test. Okay, we know she's pregnant. I said, now come back, talk to me when you got Dana. I said, let's go see her.
Who's Dana?
Dana is DNA.
Oh,
And that's what we here for today, to see Dana, honey.
Dana comes, or when you go see Dana, that's the DNA?
That's right.
Right before the results, Robinson drops another bomb. Jackson was also with a married man. Jackson loses it, calling her a liar. But now it's time for Dana to speak.
She wasn't just sleeping with him. When the married man came to talk to my son, it was me, my son, and the dude. And I bet you this ain't gonna come back Dominique Chapman, baby. I bet you this gonna come back somebody else, baby.
You are saying you believe that there is a married man somewhere in this
Yes.
picture who could
Oh, my
potentially
God.
be the father
Yes.
of Milani.
Yes.
And the results say,
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Chaplin, you are the father.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
this whole thing kicks off like a TV show gone wild. Mr. Butterfield says he might be the dad, but thinks Ms. Bracknell just wants to stay with her new guy, Mr. Dallas. Get ready, because this love mess is just warming up.
You've summoned your ex-girlfriend, Ms. Bracknell, to paternity court to prove that you are the father of her 2-month-old daughter, Cara. You say she's denying you are Cara's dad because she's worried her family will be torn apart when the results prove you are the father.
Things get weird fast. Ms. Bracknell called the baby a gift, and Mr. Butterfield took it way serious. He starts thinking maybe he's the daddy after all. But oh boy, it gets even messier from here.
She had told me when we were breaking up, she said, thank you for the gift. And I said, what gift was that?
And it wasn't till later that you found out she was pregnant.
That is correct.
And then when you found that out, you thought to yourself, was that the gift?
The baby?
That's what you thought?
Yes, Your Honor.
When she said thank you for the gift, you said, oh, that's what she was talking about.
Yes, Your Honor.
She switched boyfriends faster than a remote clicks channels. Ms. Bracknell says she wasn't pregnant when she moved in with Mr. Dallas. Hang on, because the calendar drama is about to explode.
When did you find out you were pregnant?
Honestly, I didn't find out until I'd say 3 months after I did move out of his house, because I was having irregular periods, so I just let it go for a minute. I'm not really a doctor person.
So you didn't go to the doctors for how long?
Mr. Dallas pulls out a calendar like it's a magic map. He says the baby can't be Butterfield's because of dates. But wait, Butterfield's got receipts too?
August, her and Jesse split up. September, we was
Together, moved in.
We were
So this calendar,
August,
the dates,
Mr. Butterfield split up.
when the relationship with Mr. Butterfield and Ms. Bracknell ended and when she came back to you.
Yeah.
Cara was conceived in mid-September and she was born in June.
Yes, ma'am.
Butterfield says they were still, hanging out after she left. He even offers to take a lie detector test, like he's in a spy movie. Next up, yelling and pointing fingers.
Because honestly, we were sleeping together after that, all the way up until October 8th, the last time we had sex. Because I remember, I can take a lie detector test if you want to prove it. Asking me for money for gas so you can go see him.
Yeah, I so asked you for money, huh?
Yeah.
So, Mr. Butterfield, you're saying that you were still having sex with Ms. Bracknell till October. So although these dates may be true, they are missing.
Yeah.
Mr. Dallas says he named the baby and cut the cord. Butterfield says he found out about the baby on Facebook. Ouch. Time for the past to jump back in.
So, Mr. Dallas, you named Cara.
Yes, Your Honor, I cut the umbilical cord.
Yeah, you could cut the umbilical cord because I wasn't there. She hid it from me for how
Oh,
long?
you were there. You were stalking
8 months
us out
stalking you.
in
In the parking lot.
Yeah,
The only
don't
time that
even.
I actually
Don't even.
ever found out that you guys were even pregnant, it's a Facebook post that they posted on that the baby was even. That's before I even knew.
It
And then-
says-
Yep, that little girl's ready right there.
Butterfield says Bracknell hides pregnancies like squirrels hide snacks. He even says she cheated on his birthday. Double ouch. Things are heating up faster than pizza rolls in a microwave.
She hid all of her pregnancies. She even hid the one from her
no, I
youngest son,
didn't.
Carson. She hid from him.
No, I
he wasn't even at.
I didn't know when she went into the hospital, yeah, but you know what? We're over it.
Isn't that hiding it from you?
We're done and over with.
Hides pregnancies.
Oh yeah, she'll even
No.
run to her exes. It's like pattern. She'll run to him. She'll run to
From
another guy
people
that she cheated on me on my birthday.
I did not cheat on you.
Butterfield tried to reach out, but Bracknell says his messages were scary. Judge Lake tries to cool everyone down. Just wait, she's got more to say.
When I found out about it, I messaged her mom, let him know I was coming. I blocked, obviously, on their
That you were
Facebook.
coming.
You
Let's
were blocked
explain
me
that text
before
message.
you guys even got-
5 seconds after I posted that, he texted my mom saying, I'm coming to get that girl. Just
Oh,
all threats.
Well, if I want to
is
be in
pretty
my
much
daughter's
what
life,
happened.
why wouldn't
okay,
it be?
and there's nothing wrong with that if she is your daughter, but we'll see.
Yes, we were. We'll see right today,
We
won't
will.
we? That's why we're here.
Butterfield says the baby has his nose, lips, and hair, like a mini-me. Bracknell says, nah, all her kids had light hair that changed later. Only one way to settle this: DNA time.
She looks more like me. Her own family even tells
They
me.
ain't family.
They look like me. She's got my nose, she's got my lips,
We'll see.
she's got my brown hair.
We'll see.
All her boys are blonde.
Yep, and they've gone brown the older they get.
Exactly.
So you are convinced, Mr. Butterfield, this is your daughter?
Oh, I'm 100% convinced.
Kara's biological father is Mr. Butterfield.
This whole thing was a roller coaster from the start. Miss Tucker comes in claiming her late son is Keundra's dad, while also asking for $3,800 in benefits. Meanwhile, Miss Mosley isn't buying it because this isn't the first time someone tried this on her son.
Miss Tucker, you're here today for your son, 1-year-old Keandre Tucker. Now, you say you're unsure whether a man you've been in a sexual relationship with or the defendant's deceased son is his biological father. You're also suing Ms. Mosley for $3,800 in Social Security benefits.
Yes, Your Honor.
This love triangle was messier than spilled spaghetti. Miss Tucker says she was with both guys, but spent more time with Mr. Andrews, even bringing a calendar to prove it. She found out she was pregnant on March the 16th and did some quick math. But let's be real, math in these situations is never 100% accurate.
When I met him, I did have a boyfriend, so, you know what I'm saying, I was sleeping with 2 people at the same time, but it was more frequent with Mr. Andrews. And when I met him, I remember the exact date as if it was yesterday. I met him February the 6th. It was on my best friend's birthday. I actually have a calendar that I can actually show you too as well. From February 6th all the way from the 14th through the whole month, I was having sex with Mr. Andrews more frequent.
And here comes another twist. Miss Tucker says Mr. Andrews guessed she was pregnant before she even knew, while Miss Mosley says she only found out through a friend. When she asked her son, he flat out denied it, making things even messier.
Well, when I first found out, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna be upfront with both of them. I went to Mr. Andrews first. I told him first, like, hey, look, I'm pregnant. Actually, before I even went and took the pregnancy test, he was the one that made me go take it, because before he said, hey, you're pregnant. I'm looking like, really? Like, I felt like I was being trapped, because he told me I was pregnant before I even went and took a pregnancy.
This went from drama to full-on chaos. Miss Mosley says her son called Miss Tucker wild and mentioned she was a stripper. But Judge Lake isn't here for that nonsense. She reminds everyone that whether or not she danced. The real question is if Mr. Andrews is the father.
First of all, he was incarcerated at the time. We spoke every day. On this particular day that I found out, when he called, I got on him. I was like, Eric, what's going on? Are you about to have another child? And he said, Mom, she is wild. She's a stripper. She performs private parties.
Nobody in this situation actually knew what was going on. Miss Mosley is confused because her son told her about all his kids, except this one, while Miss Tucker says he wasn't honest about how many kids he had. Turns out, she didn't even know about his other kids until his funeral. Yikes.
Let me tell you, his first child, he was so excited. He came home, he said, Mom, I'm about to have my first child. He was at the hospital, then the second child came. He talked about the baby, took pictures, the third child, the first girl.
Things just kept getting worse. Miss Tucker says Mr. Andrews didn't support her or the baby, and only visited after 3 weeks because she didn't send him money in jail. Judge Lake is basically like, we have bigger problems to deal with here.
After I had my baby, that's when I got in contact with Miss Mosley. We on the phone. She like, oh, nice to meet you. Kendra, she said, well, Mr. Andrews just got out of jail or whatever. And I was like, okay, so let me try to contact him so he can come spend time with Keandre. Never happened. It took him 3 weeks to come see my baby. This is a newborn baby now. He was angry and frustrated with me because when he was incarcerated, I wasn't sending him no money.
Now we bring in Instagram receipts. Miss Mosley swears Miss Tucker is only in this for the money, and even shows social media posts comparing the baby to Eric. But the real shocker? This isn't even the first time someone tried to say her son was their baby daddy.
Miss Tucker is bringing you to court.
For the money. She wants a check. I was still mourning. I'm looking on Instagram, finding pictures like these of my son and her son together, and I'm not even sure if he is his son.
Money talk just made everything worse. Miss Tucker brings out a budget, saying she's been paying for everything alone, but Miss Mosley refuses to help without proof. Judge Lake agrees that DNA is the only way to settle this, and the suspense is real.
So you have a breakdown of monthly expenses, baby formula, clothes, childcare, totaling $400 per month.
And that's just half, and I think that's only fair.
And so the basis of your suit is that you would like half of that amount to be
ma'am.
covered by Ms. Mosley.
Yes.
So that would be $200 a month for 19 months.
Yes.
And so $3,800.
Yes.
You could feel the tension in the room.
It has been determined that Mr. Andrew is the biological father.
This thing got messy real fast. Ms. Heiser calls her ex-husband a textbook deadbeat who ditched her and their kid. Mr. Onbe fires back, saying she was juggling more guys than a talent show.
You say your ex-husband, Mr. Onby, is a textbook deadbeat who abandoned you and your daughter almost 20 years ago. You claim Mr. Onby has spent that time inventing outlandish excuses for denying his only daughter, but you say it all comes down to child support.
Things went from bad to soap opera real quick. Ms. Heiser says he was excited about the baby, but then some random guy popped up claiming to be the dad. Suddenly, Mr. Onbe was playing detective instead of father.
He's never been there for Gabrielle since birth, emotionally, physically, financially. In the beginning, when I first met him, he seemed like a stand-up guy, a family man. The first year, we decided to get married. I had found out I was pregnant and told him. He was happy at first, told his friends and family. Within a few months, it started to deteriorate.
This dude treated fatherhood like a part-time job he didn't apply for. He showed up drunk, covered in grease, and dipped 2 hours later. 2 weeks later, he was back. Not for the baby, but for a place to crash.
He wasn't there with me through most of the pregnancy. The day that I had went into labor, he showed up halfway through the birth, drunk and full of grease. He stayed for 2 hours and left, and I didn't see him again for 2 more weeks till he showed up on my doorstep needing a place to stay and wanted to play daddy.
So, Mr. Onby, did you go back home after you came and saw
No,
Gabby
ma'am.
in the hospital?
No, ma'am.
Gabby's 5th birthday was a disaster. Dad showed up for 10 minutes, promised her a toy, and then pulled a disappearing act. She's still waiting for that toy.
He was never really been in my life. My 5-year-old birthday party, he showed up to it for about 10 minutes. He left, told me he was going for a toy, didn't show back up with this toy, and didn't see him for years later.
And never came back?
Never came back, never
For
messaged
years?
me, never talked to me for years. I didn't see him for years.
Just when you think this can't get crazier, it does. Mr. Onbe says he caught his wife cheating and left without a word, just grabbed his beer and bounced. Sounds like a bad country song.
So I immediately shot out the back door, cut across the neighbors, and came over to the house, to the front door. So I opened the door. The bedroom is maybe 40 feet from the front door. I heard them loud and clear. There was no doubt in my mind what they were doing. They were having sex. It was very loud. You could hear it clearly as day. I grabbed a 6-pack of beer out of the fridge, which was mine. I hit the front door and I never looked back.
Because what's a messy court case without Facebook drama? Mr. Onbe finds a post where Gabby calls another man dad. Turns out, a family member had been telling her lies for years.
Because I don't know for surely that she's not mine. I have snapshots off Facebook. Gabrielle was telling this other man that he was the father and that she knew he was her daddy.
So, Mr. Onby, you're saying you saw this on Facebook?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is a post from Gabby that says, "My daddy."
Yes, ma'am.
After years of running, the truth hits hard.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Onby, you are the father.
This case is totally wild. A man drowning in child support debt for a kid who may not even be his. Mr. Wooten and his daughter, Miss Smith, are here to prove that Miss Backus is not his child. Meanwhile, Miss Backus is demanding an apology. And trust me, this is about to get messy.
You and your father, Mr. Wooten, are suing to prove Ms. Backus is not his biological daughter. You say your dad owes more than $92,000 in back child support for a child who isn't his and is on the verge of losing everything because his income is being garnished by 50% each month to pay off that debt.
Imagine losing half your paycheck every month for over 30 years for a kid that might not even be yours. Miss Smith explains that her dad is struggling financially because of a $92,000 debt. And just when you think that's bad, Miss Backus is about to fire back with some heat.
Primarily through the actions of her mother being very deceitful with my father from the very beginning of their relationship. They initially did not start that they began to garnish half of his wages until the point that they started garnishing his wages. It was going into arrears, drawing interest, and now is over $92,606.06.
Miss Backus remembers being a little girl crying while doctors took her blood for a DNA test. She says she always loved her father, even though he never showed up for her. The audience is clapping, and she's about to make sure everyone hears her side.
She made me go to the doctors. First of all, I remember being young and scared, and I started crying for my dad. He made me sit in his chair, and there were about 5 or 6 doctors that held me down and blew dry for me. And all I remember is I kept screaming for my father. And I ain't never stopped loving my father, even if they don't claim me. But they gonna learn today.
Mr. Wooten swears he dated Miss Backus's mom for only 4 months, but Miss Backus says her mom told her it was 7 years. Someone's math is way off, and the judge is trying to figure out the truth. Spoiler, it's just going to get more confusing.
I met her mother, I think about 2 months after we been together. She said she was pregnant. 4 months after we was together, we broke up.
Well, Daddy, you and Mama got 2 different stories, and I'm coming to find out the truth.
So, Mr. Wooten, you're saying the relationship was 4 months long?
Once she was 4 months pregnant with her, we broke up. I realized that most of the things that she was only interested in was me helping her financially.
Miss Backus has photos proving she was once part of the Wooten family. Miss Smith admits she knew about her, but was never sure if she was really her sister. Now, the argument is turning into a full-on courtroom roast.
That's a picture at my granny's funeral.
And it says, gotta love your siblings, laugh out loud, and I am my sister's keeper.
My grandmother made peace with me before she passed away. She told me about the rumors. She told me that she do not like my mother. Not only did my granny say that, because I started to get up at the funeral and tell them what my granny said, but I said that's not the proper time.
Mr. Wooten says his own mom never believed Miss Backus was his kid. But before she passed, he told her she was just to keep the peace. Miss Backus is shook, and the courtroom is dead silent.
My mother was dying, and I would not deny her. In other words, my mother for years kept saying, you know she's not your daughter. And up to that point, when I told my mother, I said, yes, she is, you know. That's when my mother decided to apologize to her.
That she is your daughter.
I stopped trying to stop the drama. Here, you have to understand
They only doing this because it's all about the money.
Miss Smith says the real issue is the $92,000 debt ruining her father's life. She says she was the one caring for him, while Miss Backus says she was kept away to avoid rumors. Things are getting personal, and it's all leading up to the big reveal.
Is for the financial ruin over the back child support, over $90,000. I want that to stop. If she is not his child, because he was about to lose his home, I was the one there taking him back and forth to his doctor's appointments. I was the one that was there at the hospital with him.
But you're not the only daughter.
I was the one that set up his medication.
Let her finish.
The moment of truth is here, and the whole courtroom holds its breath.
Mr. Wooten Jr., you are not her father.
If you were there when my mother died at the hospital on her deathbed and she told you she wanted you to take care of us, take care of me, whatever, where did you go? Why would you just leave us there? Why did we have to grow up the way that we did? That makes no sense to me.
You just standing there, Mr. Wallace, like you don't have a piece of remorse in the world.
No, ma'am.
You don't have any issues with cheating on your wife?
No, she's not a victim.
She's not?
No.
Oh, fill us in.
She barely cooks. She doesn't clean.
Correction.
Miss Lockridge takes Mr. Tidwell to court, claiming he's not stepping up for their 10-month-old son, King. She's confident, 100% sure he's the dad, and today's DNA test will settle it. But hold on, the drama that follows, you're not ready.
Ms. Lockridge, you've dragged the defendant, Mr. Tidwell, to court because he has refused to acknowledge your 10-month-old son, King. You are 100% sure he's the father and claim today's results will prove your case.
Mr. Tidwell fires back, saying Miss Lockridge doesn't actually believe he's the dad. She just wants him to be. He insists they only had an on and off casual thing for 6 years. Miss Lockridge? She's ready to clap back with some fiery responses.
I think she's more wants me to be the dad than she really believes I'm the dad. She's obsessed with me, and she's to make me feel like I'm not the father. She's left town. She's left me with the baby for weeks. She only called me when she had the baby. There was no relationship.
We were on and off for 6 years. We were together for my understanding, how he led me to believe I was single, or I was with him in a committed relationship for at least a year.
Things heat up when Miss Lockridge says she told Mr. Tidwell about the baby with an ultrasound photo and a note. His reaction? Confusion, like he'd been handed surprise homework. But trust me, the real mess hasn't even started yet.
She came over to my house. We hung out. The next day, I see a piece of paper on my bed. I grab it, I looked at it. It was a note with an ultrasound in it. I'm not sure the exact words of the note, but it said that she didn't know how to tell me this. So I called her. She didn't answer the phone. She ended up leaving me a text message saying that she was sorry and that she didn't know how to tell me that she was pregnant.
Miss Lockridge insists she wasn't seeing anyone else when King was conceived, only Mr. Tidwell. While she's all about the baby, he's looking like he just walked into a plot twist. The courtroom, nowhere near done with the fireworks.
When we conceived my child, I told him I just had my period.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
He said, "Shut up," and we kept going at it.
Oh,
That's
wow.
a lie, Your Honor.
You thought that he wanted or didn't mind if he got you pregnant.
I mean, he just got another girl pregnant 4 months prior, and I asked him, "What you gonna do about it?" He said, "If it's mine, then I'm gonna take care of it." So next time I come over, heck yeah, I'm excited.
Enter Mr. Tidwell's mom, Miss Harrington, who accuses Miss Lockridge of being obsessed with her son. She even jokes about a prayer closet dedicated to him. Oh, and she doesn't think King looks like their family. Drama off the charts.
She is very obsessed with my son.
I am not in love with him.
All she talks about is how much she wants to be with him and how she's got a prayer closet at home for him. Well, you know, this is just obsession, really.
Why is it so far-fetched that he could be King's biological father?
Because there was such a long span of time in between. I don't know anything about this young lady, really.
Miss Lockridge says she left King with Mr. Tidwell while working, but he claims she vanished for 2 weeks. And what happened when she returned? Let's just say it's part comedy, part cringe.
She left for 2 weeks.
No.
When I call her
Thursday
to
to
ask her
Tuesday.
when she's coming back, she said she'll be back when she get back. I said, well then I'm just gonna keep him to figure out if he's mine. And all.
No.
She
It's called
came
airplane.
within an hour. She was there with
No, I
a man
explained.
and picked the boy up. Came in here, snatched him up, left, and I didn't hear her
Okay.
for a week. And I'm like, where you going? Who you with? Oh, don't worry about it. Ooh. And she just snatched him up, left most of his stuff, bottles, and just left.
Miss Lockridge whips out King's birth certificate, pointing out that Mr. Tidwell named him and gave him his last name. Her argument? He knew King was his. The tension, sky high as the DNA results approach.
The birth certificate, there's no dad's name on it. That's all I want today. And if my son's name is King Tidwell, he needs the man that named him King Tidwell to be in his life.
You didn't just pick the name King, you gave him his last name too.
But yeah, he's gonna deny my son?
From your actions.
Denying is not a problem, Your Honor. It's
From
the
your
actions
actions.
of the way she's been acting, the things she do.
You named the child.
I gave her the name that I wanted my son to have.
The results are in.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Tidwell, you are not his father.
Are you kidding me?
Things get messy fast. Mr. Robinson and his wife claim he's not Trevorris's dad and say Ms. Grant tricked him into paying child support. Now they're suing for $124 to fix his license and $1,600 in wages.
You and your wife say you are not the father of the defendant's son, Trevorris, but know who is. You claim she deceived you into believing you were the father to collect child support, and as a result of your inability to pay, your driver's license was suspended and your tax return was taken. Today, you're suing Ms. Grant for $124 for license reinstatement fees and plan to return to court in your home state to fight for $1,685.10 in garnished wages.
Ms. Grant isn't backing down. She shows the court an affidavit where Mr. Robinson said he's the dad. She says he even acted like a dad before doubting it. Mr. Robinson admits signing it but gets sketchy about his proof.
My son never went around them. Yes, Dexter did claim my child because I have proof here where he went to sign papers and everything. He had the opportunity.
What is this paperwork?
That is where he signed and say that is his child, and he states that he will pay $60 a month for his child.
This is an affidavit, an admission of paternity, which is basically an acknowledgement of paternity.
Plot twist. Ms. Grant says Trevorris isn't Mr. Ellis's kid, but Mr. Ellis told Mr. Robinson otherwise. Mr. Robinson believed he was the dad for over 20 years, but one conversation flipped everything upside down.
2 years ago, when this other man approached him and told him that he was the father.
So, Mr. Robinson, at some point after you signed this acknowledgement, someone came up to you and said, I'm Mr. Christian's father?
Yes, Your Honor.
20 years you thought Mr. Christian was your son and you were paying support.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Ellis claims Mr. Robinson started the whole mess, but then it gets wild. He says Ms. Grant once called Trevorris his son, which she denies. Meanwhile, the tension rises, and Trevorris is about to weigh in.
No, that's a lie. He approached me. He came to me and he said, I heard that Martez was your son. I said, well, hey, man, hey, look, I didn't tell you to go up there and sign them papers, so that's on you. You know, I feel he is my son because of his mom approached me and said, want
It
to go.
never, Your Honor, I
Oh,
never.
yes.
Trevorus shares his side, saying his mom left him confused about who his dad was. He felt closer to Mr. Ellis's family, while Mr. Robinson's barely acknowledged him. Judge Lake reminds everyone about the legal affidavit, but the real shocker's coming.
Were you ever told that Mr. Ellis was your father?
I was told that it could be either of the two.
That it could be either of the two?
Yes, ma'am.
And who told you this?
My mom.
Ms. Grant, your son's saying that you honestly told him it could be either of these two men. In your prior testimony, you said you were only sleeping with Mr. Ellis way before Mr. Robinson.
I was telling the truth earlier.
The DNA results are in.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Eddie Ellis, you are not the father.
Buckle up, because this story starts with a mind-blowing twist. Mr. Hinton says he had a fling with the twins' late mom, which led to their birth. After a tragic accident, he lost contact and spent 25 years proving he's their dad. But the twins are like, who even is this guy? Things are about to get messy, so brace yourself for the drama bomb.
Mr. Hinton, you say that a brief affair with the defendant's now deceased mother resulted in their birth. You say you lost touch with the children after a tragic accident and have spent the last 25 years trying to find them and prove you are their father.
This part feels straight out of a soap opera. Mr. Hinton claims he bumped into the twins' mom at a flea market, visited her house, and the little girl Marilyn jumped into his arms like she knew him. But Marilyn's over here saying, no, that never happened. Trust me, the chaos is only just beginning.
I was in Columbus, Ohio at a flea market. Somebody came up and tapped me on the back of my shoulder. I turned around and looked. I didn't recognize her at first. Then she looked at me like, this is Tanya. And then it clicked for me right then and there. So we did our pleasantries and we hugged. So I said, well, why don't you come over tonight? And at the time we was talking, there was kids running around the living room. I mean, just running around. Kids do.
Now it gets popcorn worthy. Marilyn remembers a guy named Mark hanging around when she was little, but she never called him dad. Mr. Hinton says, surprise, I was going by my middle name Mark. Apparently, there was an army of Emanuels in Columbus. The reactions to this twist, priceless.
I do remember when I was a little girl and my mom let me go with a man who I called Mark. I didn't even call him dad. I didn't call him Manny. His name was Mark. He just took an interest in me and my mother just let me go with him. We would and I just remember one day that he just literally came and was like, no, this is the last time I'm going to see you. Probably about a year or so before my mother passed.
Things get crazier with a new plot twist. The court confirms Mr. Hinton's full name is Emmanuel Mark Hinton, but Marilyn insists her family said Renard was her dad. Mr. Hinton claims he was there during her childhood. If you think this is wild, hold on. It's not over.
But Ms. Waddell testified that she got picked up and spent time with a man named Mark. Your name is Emmanuel.
Right. At time in Columbus, Ohio, I don't know what it was a big boom. There's a lot of males that were named Emmanuel. I knew 6 people named Emmanuel myself. So I didn't want these people to keep everybody in the whole city keep interfering with me thinking I'm this Emmanuel and I'm this Emmanuel.
Now we hit the emotional part. The twins accuse Mr. Hinton of being MIA after their mom passed, sharing how they grew up in foster care and were separated at 9. Marilyn asks, if you cared so much, why didn't you come back for us? His response, eye-roll worthy.
We're 33 years old. So if you are our father, why would you wait all of this time? Me and my twin, we grew up in foster care and we were even separated at 9 years old. Where did you go? I don't understand after 33 years why you just come in all of a sudden and you find me on Facebook. You say you were looking for me all this time. I've been in the same place.
Get ready for drama overload. Mr. Hinton says he promised their mom he'd take care of the twins, but needed time to get his life together. The twins aren't buying it, asking, where were you for 33 years? The roller coaster isn't stopping here.
He was there at my mother's death. That makes me extremely upset. If you were there when my mother died at the hospital on her deathbed and she told you she wanted you to take care of us, take care of me, whatever, where did you go? Why would you just leave us there? Why did we have to grow up the way that we did? That makes no sense to me. No excuse that he can give me on why he wasn't there, especially when he keeps insinuating that he was there when my mother passed.
This is a classic, are you kidding me moment? Marilyn asks why Mr. Hinton tried to pick her up, but not her twin brother. She's like, what parent picks one kid and leaves the other? Mr. Hinton blames challenges, but the twins aren't convinced. The tension is about to explode.
Why didn't he come back to get both of us 7 months later?
7 months later?
Yeah, why would you just say, I'm coming back to get Marilyn?
Because he was not there.
Okay.
I was there. I'm not going to take one and not take the other.
I'm a single mother. I struggle, but I'm not just going to leave him or just put him in foster care, let him go over, ABC house just because I can't take him. We going to struggle together.
But there wasn't a cycle there, Yana.
This kicks off with some juicy family drama that feels straight out of a TV show. Ms. Webster overhears gossip suggesting her dad might not actually be her dad. Her cousin chimes in saying, "You're just like Mr. Ware. Same laugh, same walk." And suddenly, everyone's suspicious.
You recently learned shocking news that Myron Smith, the man you believe to be your dad and who paid child support for you, may not be your biological father. Now you've dragged the defendant, Mr. Ware, to paternity court to prove that he is your father and claim today's results will prove your case.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Webster dives into her baby book, uncovering clues that only fuel her doubts. She finds notes and gifts from Mr. Ware's family, while Mr. Ware admits he dated her mom but thought she wasn't his. Now, she's on a mission to untangle the truth with some spiritual guidance.
I had a baby book for a long time, and I never really started putting things together until the blood type wasn't the same. And I'm looking in the baby book, and there's relatives of Mr. Ware's family that signed in when I was born. They bought gifts. There was an address.
Relatives of Mr. Ware,
yes, Your Honor,
have signed into your baby book when you were born.
Correct, Your Honor.
The plot thickens when Mr. Ware shows up during a church prayer session. Ms. Webster turns around and realizes this could be her dad, but it's as awkward as it is surreal. The moment feels like destiny, or maybe just a bizarre twist of fate.
We went to visit him at his church. I knew who he was, but he didn't know who I was. I just been praying, that I find out who my father is. There's things in my life. I came to the Lord. I went to the altar. They had altar call. I'm praying. And I'm nervous, but I just felt this energy. When I got up, Mr. Ware was standing right behind me. So out of all
And did you know it was Mr. Ware?
When I was down, no, I didn't know who was standing there when I got up.
Tamara Smith enters with major receipts, claiming she knows who the real dad is. She insists Ms. Webster's mom and Mr. Ware were together when Ms. Webster was conceived, clashing with her mom's denial. The drama skyrockets as Ms. Webster's mom steps in to defend her story.
My name is Tamara Smith, and I grew up in the household with Demisha's mother, Miss Webster. Mr. Ware was like a part of our family. I know what Miss Webster may have told him, that he wasn't the father, but I believe in my heart when Miss Webster left Louisville to move back to Dayton, Ohio, that she left her pregnant.
Mr. Smith, who's been paying child support for years, reveals he was out of state during the conception window. Despite signing papers without a DNA test, he wanted to do the right thing. Now, Ms. Webster's mom has to set the record straight amid mounting tension.
You have been paying child support.
Yes, I have.
But you don't believe you're her biological father.
No, I don't. Miss Webster was born September the 17th, which means that she had to be conceived either late December or January of 76 or late December of 75. I was in the United States Army, stationed in Fort Hood, Texas. So right there, she was born September the 17th. Last time I was home on leave was late November.
The mom testifies, confidently naming Mr. Smith as the dad, until it's revealed she was dating Mr. Ware too. The court hears everyone's version of events, creating a live soap opera moment. Then comes the bombshell. The DNA test results are in.
Tisha was named for my cousin Marika and Mr. Ware. His middle name and Marika's name together, and that's how she got to be.
Of course, Marsha and I, we got together to name her at the time. I do remember that.
You dated through the process. You named her together, but you were sure he was not the father?
Right.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Ware, you are not her father.
This gets messy fast. Like, grab your popcorn. Messy. Mr. Pierce accuses Ms. Koval of tricking him into thinking her baby was his. She admits she cheated, but insists Julian is his, setting the stage for a drama-packed showdown.
You are summoning your ex-fiancée, Ms. Cavell, for a paternity test to prove that her one-year-old son, Julian, is not your son. You claim Ms. Cavell deceived you into believing you were the father, and it wasn't until Julian was 6 months old when she finally confessed she had cheated and you may not be the father.
Things explode when Mr. Pierce recalls giving Ms. Koval a chance to confess secrets, thinking they were solid. She admitted to cheating, which led to days of guilt-fueled confessions. Just when you think it's done, more chaos unfolds.
When I found out, I just had to call it off. I mean, there's no sense in really trying to go for a marriage because it's not true.
How do you feel when you hear Mr. Pierce say these things, Ms. Cavell?
It really hurts me. I know I made a mistake at one. We were both going through an emotional roller coaster at that time period. I made a mistake one time. I understand that my son looks nothing like him, but he looked to me when I was a baby.
You don't see no color in that baby.
Ms. Koval reveals she cheated after feeling unsupported during a tough time. She says it was a one-time mistake with a coworker, but Mr. Pierce doubts her. The awkward vibes skyrocket as trust hangs by a thread.
When was he born?
May 13th.
Oh, this is here. When you had that moment where you fell short and cheated?
It was in September. I don't remember the exact date. I had just lost a baby.
Early September, middle September?
It was early September.
Did you say the end of August, beginning of September?
Somewhere around.
You cheated right around here.
Mr. Pierce wants both a paternity and lie detector test, saying trust is gone. He can't believe someone he trusted betrayed him. Their future hinges on these test results, and the tension couldn't be higher.
In addition to the DNA test you request today, you're also requesting a lie detector test.
Correct, Your Honor.
We have, in fact, administered that test, and the results will be revealed shortly. You have this beautiful baby. When you look at this child, what are you thinking?
Every time I look at him, it kills me.
The paternity test results are in.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Pierce, you are Julian's father.
Yes! From the get-go, it's chaos. Miss Reed demands a paternity test to prove Mr. Wallace isn't the father of Miss Austin's baby. Plus, she's suing Miss Austin for $5,000, blaming the affair for her financial troubles. Miss Austin fires back, denying she owes Miss Reed anything and insisting Mr. Wallace is her baby's dad. The drama is off the charts, and we're only getting started.
You are demanding that Ms. Austin have a paternity test administered on her child, whom she claims was fathered by your estranged husband. You're hoping the DNA test will prove that your husband is not her baby's father. You argue that her affair has left you struggling financially as well.
Buckle up. This is where it gets messy. Miss Reed found out about Miss Austin when she answered Mr. Wallace's phone and heard, "I'm his girlfriend." Shocked, she responded, "No, I'm his fiancé and we just had a baby." Though she initially left him, she later forgave and married him. But Miss Austin's next bombshell keeps the drama rolling.
And I found out about Mrs. Austin. One day I came in from the hospital from having my second child, and Raniel's phone rang, and I just so happened to answer the phone. Mrs. Austin, she said, "I'm Raniel's girlfriend." I said, "Raniel's girlfriend, did you know that Raniel was engaged to me or whatever and just had a baby?" She said, "No." I packed my things and I left with my 2 kids at the time. I went and stayed at my aunt's house.
Miss Austin brings the heat with her unapologetic story. She claims she didn't know about the engagement and only learned of their marriage via Facebook. Instead of apologizing, she blames Miss Reed for not keeping up the house, saying that's why Mr. Wallace strayed. Her confidence is wild, but when Mr. Wallace enters, the drama hits new heights.
I found out on Facebook that Raniel, Mrs. Reed, was married. When she posted a picture up there of their marriage life, that's when I found out. And yes, I did confront Raniel about the marriage.
So what you're saying actually is that you didn't have any regret or remorse about it because you felt like if she was handling her business, he wouldn't be over talking to you.
Mr. Wallace arrives looking more casual than concerned. He admits to cheating, fathering 3 kids with Miss Reed and possibly one with Miss Austin, citing boredom as his excuse. Judge Lake calls him out for his audacity, while Miss Reed tearfully confronts the mess he's created. Things quickly turn emotional.
You just standing there, Mr. Wallace, like you don't have a piece of remorse in the world. You don't?
No, ma'am.
You don't have any issues with cheating on your wife?
No, she's not a victim.
She's not?
No.
Oh, fill us in.
First off, she wasn't a good wife. She barely cooks, she doesn't clean.
Correction.
Miss Reed's testimony is heartbreaking. She shares how her kids feel neglected now that Miss Austin's baby is in the picture. While upset with both parties, she ultimately blames Mr. Wallace for failing their family. Her only wish? For her kids to have a present, caring father. But there's still the $5,000 lawsuit to address.
I'd rather for it to be his because I feel like ever since Raniel had other kids on my kids get the short end of the stick. They rarely see their dad. Like when I take them to see him, I have to like leave them with him in order for them to spend time with their father. Before her child even got in the picture, Raniel was there for my kids for whatever. Like watched them, gave them whatever. But now that Mrs. Austin's child is in the picture, my kids have to suffer. And I feel that it's not right.
The $5,000 lawsuit hits a wall. Judge Lake rules that Miss Austin isn't to blame for the marriage's downfall. That's all on Mr. Wallace. Miss Reed looks frustrated, but the judge calls out everyone's messy behavior, reminding them that children's lives are at stake. And now it's time for the paternity results.
We found out today through testimony and confirmation is that Mr. Wallace actually went after Ms. Austin. Now, in order for you to sue for alienation of affection, you have to prove that this young woman planned to destroy your marriage. I don't see that. It was his free will that started this affair. Are we clear?
Yes, Your Honor.
So for this reason, my judgment is for the defendant.
Here's the moment everyone's been waiting for.
In the case of Reed versus Austin, when it comes to baby Demuriel, Mr. Wallace, you are her father.
Told you, dummy. She looks just like you, dummy.
I don't like condoms, so I don't use condoms.
Exactly, and I want you to know this.
I'm allergic to latex, so I can use non-latex condoms.
Why do people keep saying they're allergic to latex but not allergic
This
to
woman
sex?
tried to trap me.
I mean, it's like sex at all. You're right. First brought out the condom, I said, is it a no-latex condom? He told me no. I said, we better off not. No, never mind, I'll just do it anyway.
We went on to the store. Well, while we was going to the store, her friend started to tell me a story. She was like, well, I just want to tell you something. She was like, well, the whole time that you was gone, she was cheating on you.
Her best friend told you
This
that?
is what her best friend told me.
And I only did it because I thought you was cheating on me.
Okay.
So you admit you cheated on him?
I did.
And so your best friend told on you?
Yeah.
Things kick off with Mr. Montgomery, who's all like, Miss Parker tricked me into thinking I was Timothy's dad. But now Miss Parker's flipping the story, saying he's not the father. So he's like, let's do a DNA test. Oh, this is about to get wild.
You say Miss Parker led you to believe that you fathered her 3-month-old son, Timothy Montgomery. You say you were present at the birth, named the baby, signed the birth certificate, but now Miss Parker says you're not the father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Montgomery is here pouring his heart out like it's some kind of romance movie, insisting he's Timothy's dad. Timothy is his son, and he's not ready to let this go. But just wait until Miss Parker drops her side of the story.
I believe I'm the father because, I loved her. Me and her were together. We were sexually active. Without a shadow of a doubt, I just believe, firmly that this is my son. I was there, through the pregnancy and signed the birth certificate. And what the funny part is,
because
she
I thought
allowed
he
me
was
to name the
your
son after my deceased father.
Miss Parker's story just took a hard left turn as she admits there's another possible dad in the mix. This love triangle just turned into a math problem.
I thought he was the father.
You did?
Yeah, because he looked just like Mark in the ultrasounds.
So during the ultrasounds, you felt like they resembled?
Yeah, they looked just like him, and I believed that he was the father.
Miss Parker's dropping bombshells, admitting she was with both guys at the same time, making paternity a big guessing game. And Miss Parker doesn't seem like she's done spilling the tea.
I had sex with both of them around the same time and the same day.
You're talking about one of these 3D ultrasounds? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
I know what you're talking about. I had one of those, and I know what you're saying when you look at baby and you pick out features and you say, oh, I think he kind of resembles, but there's no way that if you were sleeping with another man during the window of conception.
Mr. Montgomery went all out, basically moving mountains to be with Miss Parker, and the crowd can't believe it. You've got to feel for the guy. This is just the beginning.
I left everything I knew in Cleveland, my family. I had a good paying job that I had, and, left my family, my friends, everything I ever knew behind so I can go down there and be the best father and family man that I could possibly be for her, her kids, and my son.
Yeah.
Miss Parker, meanwhile, says she was kind of fed up with Mr. Lanou, always ignoring her for his Xbox, so she found herself looking for attention. Everyone in the courtroom is shaking their heads by now, wondering where this will lead next.
So talk to me about how you were in a relationship with two different men.
I was with Mark. He was always on Xbox. He wouldn't even have sex with me during the whole pregnancy because he felt weird.
First met, it wasn't even like that. He wasn't even in the picture.
Right here.
You are
He done left.
He pried on my girlfriend when I was
One
with
at
her.
a time.
Now, Mr. Lanou and Mr. Montgomery are throwing shade about who's really supporting the baby financially, and it's messy. The competition between these two just keeps getting more intense.
I have a job.
Where's all this money going?
It's going to him.
No, it's
going
not.
to
I have
him.
not once
Trust and
got
believe,
it.
my son will have what he needs.
Putting diapers on
Yeah,
his
because
ass, buying
you snuck
formula,
behind
buying
my
clothes.
back and you bit on my girl, homie.
Before you got pregnant, you ended up with Mr. Lanou, right?
The first time he had left, throughout the whole time,
He had
even
broke up
told
with
him
me.
that we were sleeping together after he came back.
Mr. Montgomery's really been holding back here, but he finally admits he kind of suspected Miss Parker was seeing Mr. Lanou on the side. The truth is creeping closer and closer.
Before Timothy was born, no, I had my suspicions, but I never had, concrete evidence that they was actually sleeping around.
Clearly, Miss Parker, you're sleeping with both men.
Yeah.
At a certain point. You end up in the hospital having your baby. How is it that Mr. Montgomery ends up in the hospital with you?
I didn't know it was a possibility that Lanou would have been the father of Timothy.
Get your tissues, because Mr. Montgomery is reliving the happiest moment of his life, and he held Timothy at birth. But Miss Parker's about to come in with some ice-cold reality.
Sitting there, I'm holding him for the first time, I bring him to, her face, so she can see him because she had a C-section. I'm sitting there crying. I even told myself that, when he was born, I was like, I'm not gonna cry. Was I nervous? No, I was excited because the simple fact of the matter, I was told that I was gonna be and unlike most men, I was damn proud to hear that I was gonna be a father.
Miss Parker confesses that she waited weeks after Timothy's birth to tell Mr. Montgomery that he might not be the dad, and his reaction says it all. Mr. Lanou is waiting to share his own side of the story, and it's about to get even messier.
I told him, and
3 weeks after he was born.
But this is because during that time, Your Honor, that he had threatened to Timothy.
Your Honor, she
without her knowledge,
in the bed.
take him to Cleveland.
First time she was able to have sex after the baby was born, she waited until after we were done to sit. You know, I don't think you're the father. I think, Luke's the father. And I'm still laying in the bed with this woman naked.
Mr. Lanou explains how he stayed cool and didn't go to the hospital, even though he knew there'd be a fight if he did. But Timothy's paternity still isn't set in stone, and the drama's not over.
I actually was going to show up to the hospital, but for her and that unborn child, refused to because I know that it would have caused a disturbance between me and him.
You knew that you had
choice.
been sleeping with her.
A man always has
Did
a
you
choice.
know there was a distinct possibility that you could be this child's
Your Honor,
father?
and I even
I told him it wasn't because I didn't want to believe it.
Miss Parker shocks everyone, admitting she was cheating on Mr. Lanou left and right while they were together, which makes this all feel like a soap opera. But with the DNA results coming up, they're about to get some real answers.
What other fact do you have that support your belief that this child is Mr. Lanou's?
It's just I cheated the whole time I was with Mark. And
But I cheated.
You did cheat.
Okay.
It's also
I
the
did
fact that
cheat
he's
because
tried
you cheated on
conceiving
me.
children to other women who, until he left, could not conceive a child.
The results come out and hit like a sledgehammer.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Montgomery, you are not the father.
Wow, this story kicks off wild right from the start. Miss Herman is in court to prove that Mr. Houston is the father of her son Corey. But get ready, this tale is only just beginning.
Miss Herman, you are here to prove that Mr. Houston is the biological father of your 2-year-old son Corey. You contend the defendant duped you and was living a double life. Mr. Houston, you claim that you are not the biological father of Miss Herman's son and will clear your name when the results are read.
And just when you thought it couldn't get any crazier, bam! Miss Herman explains how she found out Mr. Houston was married while she was already pregnant. With her detective skills in full gear, Miss Herman is about to make this courtroom a whole lot more interesting.
I like to call this the investigative stage. That's what I do. So during the time I was pregnant, I had told Mr. Houston that I was pregnant. He said that he would be there for me and my child. After 2 doctor's appointments, he stopped showing up. So I got a little suspicious. Got my investigation glasses on, and I found out via Facebook that he has a wife and children.
Mr. Houston really doubles down, saying he had no reason to tell her he was married. Like that little fact didn't matter. The judge is already over this eyebrow drama, but trust me, there's way more eyebrow-raising stuff to come.
Anything I got going on before I met her wasn't her business. You see what I'm saying? I wasn't curious about the extra stuff. I was more curious about getting to know who she was.
So your marriage and your kids and your wife were all extra things?
No, it wasn't extra at all. It was just something that I didn't communicate with her.
This part is downright awkward as Mr. Houston tries to dodge the question about using protection. But things are about to get a whole lot stickier as Mr. Houston tries to explain himself.
But you didn't use protection when you were sleeping with her.
You did not.
Did you tell
not? Don't lie. He did not use a condom, Your Honor. He did not.
Your Honor.
No, the answer is no. Don't let him lie to you. The answer is no. No, he did not. No.
Mr. Houston's version of their meeting is so casual, it sounds like he's describing grabbing lunch. He claims he was just interested in getting to know her, not aiming for anything serious, like, oh, having a kid. Miss Herman's expression says it all. She's about to spill more details he forgot to mention.
I had a homie that just got married. We were celebrating his marriage, I met her. She seemed like she was out of her comfort zone, She wasn't supposed to be there, you know what I mean? So I approached her. I said, hey, how you doing? We started communicating. She told me her name. I let her know who I was.
He did, Your Honor. Don't let him lie to you. When he do that thing with his eyebrows, he's lying.
When Miss Herman reveals they were together for a month and a half, the drama level in the room doubles. And just when you think it couldn't get messier, in steps Mr. Houston's wife with her own version of the story.
About a month and a half, when I found out I was pregnant, told Cortez that I was pregnant, and he didn't say anything on the other line of that phone. He said, are you for real? I said, yes, I'm for real. Then he promised that he would be there throughout the whole pregnancy, not just 2 doctors.
At what point do you discover that he has a wife? Are you already pregnant?
Yes.
Here comes Mrs. Houston, and she's not here to play nice. But hang on, because these 2 women have even more to say, and Mr. Houston's day is about to go downhill fast.
How did you find out about Miss Herman?
The way I discovered, they were doing whatever was a message came in his phone. When I have the baby, I want to move in with you. I'm looking like, who the hell is this? And what is she talking about? So somebody is trying to get answers and he like playing dumb, wouldn't tell me the truth about it. So eventually I end up calling the number and I talked to her.
The drama goes off the charts starts as Mrs. Houston tells everyone she and Miss Herman were pregnant at the same time. But Mr. Houston's about to pull out a deep reason for his actions that'll leave you scratching your head.
You know, he said he's going to be there for me and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, so you're pregnant. I'm pregnant too. So how does that work? Like,
see, I'm in the business of making babies. You know, I have every reason to extend my bloodline. Let me let you know.
And now, Mr. Houston gives a reason for his actions that's as surprising as it is confusing. The judge isn't having it and tells him making babies isn't the way to heal his loss. But don't worry, Mr. Houston isn't done with his wild excuses just yet.
Exactly.
And you thought by making more children,
I'll be connected with my father.
You will be connecting with your father. At the end of the day, you do have to understand that when you bring children into the world with paternity questions, that's not being a superhero. That's not being the kind of father you say you lost.
Mr. Houston's next excuse is one for the history books, claiming he skipped the condom because he's allergic to latex. The judge looks ready to scream as she tries to get him to own up to his choices.
I don't like condoms, so I don't use condoms.
Exactly, and I want you to know this.
I'm allergic to latex, so I can use non-latex condoms.
Why do people keep saying they're allergic to latex but not allergic to sex?
This woman tried to trap me.
I mean, it's like
sex at all. You're right. First brought out the condom. I said, "Is it a no-latex condom?" He told me no. I said, "We better off not." No, never mind. I'll just do it anyway.
And then things heat up even more as Miss Herman accuses Mr. Houston of barely being in Corey's life. Finally, it's time for the DNA results that could blow everything up.
Miss Herman, Mr. Houston testified that he wants to be a dad. Has he been a dad to Corey?
No, he doesn't do anything for Corey at all.
This woman's full of lies today. I don't know why.
Can you show you a receipt?
I made sure that I had his first pair of shoes. I got him some booties. I did everything that I was supposed to do as far as making sure he had car seats. I did all those things.
This moment right here, it's the jaw dropper everyone was waiting for.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Houston, you are not the father.
Yes. Thank you, Jesus. I ain't gotta talk to this man not no more.
Oh, here we go. Things get intense right away. Mr. Razor and Mr. Hunt, who are siblings, decide to sue their parents for a paternity test. But there's way more to this story. Just wait till you hear about the argument that got this whole dad comment loud and clear, and he was left totally mind blown. Things are only getting messier from here as the family drama keeps unfolding.
Yes, I did, Your Honor, but I don't believe my children heard the whole comment.
Emotions are all over the place as Ms. Razor steps up situations to big life moments. Hold tight, because Ms. Ham is about to get grilled for answers next.
I'm 26 years old, okay? This is the only man that I know. How many men do you know sit in a delivery room with their daughter when they're having a baby, okay? For you to make that statement and for him to... Is there something that you need to tell me? Maybe.
Just when you think this family drama is as complicated as it gets, Ms. Ham drops a new bomb. She doesn't actually know who Precious, aka Uncle Tommy, joins in remotely and admits he had a relationship with Ms. Ham back in the day, leaving the siblings even more bewildered. The drama is thick in the air as they all hold their breath, waiting for the DNA test results.
That's just nasty. Wow. That is not my father.
Ms. Ham casually confirms that, yeah, she and Mr. Farmer were involved 26 years ago, which means he could totally be Precious's dad. But Precious is holding back tears as she reveals how desperately she needs the truth about who her dad is, especially since she's getting married soon. And here we are, with the results about to come out. And you know things are going to hit hard.
These are my children, and I'm gonna...
Whoa, this is a wild start. Mr. Haynes drags Miss Manning into court, claiming he's definitely the dad of her daughter Zoe, even though Miss Manning now says, nope, you're not. And just when you think it can't get crazier, they toss even more surprising facts at each other.
Mr. Haynes, you have brought Ms. Manning court today to prove that you are the father of her 4-year-old daughter, Zoe. You say Ms. Manning initially told you that you were Zoe's dad, but now is claiming you are not her father.
It's only getting more confusing here, folks. Miss Manning explains her timeline, claiming that Zoe was conceived after she and Mr. Haynes had already called it quits. Just wait, things are about to get even more. What?
Miss Manning sent me a picture. I thought it was my son at first. It was actually Zoe. Took a picture of my son and I compared it, and that's when she was my child.
And why do you feel you know that for certain?
Zoe was conceived at the end of October and we had already broken up.
It's like watching a ping pong match of parent confusion here. Mr. Haynes remembers Miss Manning saying he was the father, then changing her mind over and over again. And you won't believe the next set of wild mixed messages.
She said I was the father multiple times. Then she also told me I wasn't the father multiple times. So first met when I was getting a tattoo, and it was at residence, and we only dated for a short period of time until she ended the relationship. So I ended up moving on, got with my ex now, my son's mom. mom.
This back and forth is exhausting, even for the judge, but after 4 years of mixed signals, both of them are at their wits' end. And get ready, because another possible dad just popped into the mix.
I had a baby, and it's a possibility she's yours.
And so he said, send me a picture. And that's what you sent. And once he acknowledged that, yes, I believe this is my daughter, what did you say?
I've never told him he was the father, and I've never told him he wasn't the father. It's always been, there's a possibility. And the fact that he's waited 4 years to take a paternity test is what irritates me.
The confusion just keeps snowballing here. When asked if he's been part of Zoe's life, Mr. Haynes says he's tried, but Miss Manning only allowed him to be a friend of the family for Zoe's sake. And now, Mr. Haynes brings a timeline to show he's been trying all along.
Have you tried to be a father at all to Zoe, Mr. Haynes? Have you been a part of her life? She's 4.
I have tried to reach out to her. I have talked to her once, and when I did talk to her, Miss Manning told me not to mention that I was the father. She just told me to keep, I'm a family friend of the family, so.
Keeping up with this timeline is like trying to follow spaghetti noodles. It's all over the place. The judge points out the endless cycle of yes, no, maybe, and everyone's left dizzy. And if you thought it was done, hold on, because Miss Manning's got something to say next.
You submitted a timeline to the court.
March of 2014 is when I received the photo, Zoe, but like I told you guys just previous that I thought it was my son. Then I found out it wasn't.
And you felt like she sent you the picture because she was your child.
Yes.
So you're thinking you are the father.
Yes. Things get even juicier with the next witness. Mr. Haynes' girlfriend, Ms. Wickwire, his current girlfriend, steps up and backs up Mr. Haynes, saying Miss Manning has repeatedly changed her mind on who the dad is. This story keeps twisting like a soap opera.
First off,
what testimony do you have?
We've been together for 2.5 years. She has repeatedly sent him messages saying that he is the father and isn't the father. She's dragging him through hell, pretty much. When he is the father, he's happy and wants to
I don't
actually try and
understand
take...
how I'm dragging him through hell when it's been, there's a possibility, let's get a DNA test.
Now the judge is practically begging for Miss Manning to let Mr. Haynes have a chance with Zoe. The stakes are sky high, and everyone's waiting to see how this ends.
So have you encouraged a relationship between Mr. Haynes and Zoe?
No.
And why is that?
I would rather have proof that he is her father instead of them building a relationship and him not being the father.
You really believe it's the man that's on the birth certificate, already acknowledged paternity, but has allowed you to have full custody and doesn't really want to be part of raising her?
Yes.
This is a roller coaster of emotion as both parties share their hopes. Both clearly want the best for Zoe, and it's tough to watch them struggle. We're on the edge here. The final DNA answer is coming.
Do you hope Mr. Haynes is her biological father?
Yes.
So even though your gut says to you, do not think he's the father, what are your hopes, Mr. Haynes?
I just want to find out the truth because it's been almost 4 years of going back and forth that I'm the father. So I just want the proof.
And you want to be her father?
Yes.
It's DNA time, and the result is a jaw dropper.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Haynes, you are not father.
Whoa, this case got messy real fast. Mr. Lester's like, nope, not mine. You had other guys around then. Things already look dicey, and we're just getting started.
Mr. Lester, you say that you and Ms. Moyet were never in a relationship and that she had multiple sex partners during her time of conception, so you are 100% certain that you are not father of baby Nyla.
You won't believe the pettiness in this part. Miss Moyet says Mr. Lester's support so far includes a few diapers and one onesie for a boy. But trust me, these two are just getting warmed up.
Mr. Lester has hardly been involved in Nyla's life. Besides the fact of 3 cases of diapers, a onesie that he bought for her, which was a boy outfit. Other than that, me and my mother have been providing food, milk, and everything and things like that. I also have evidence here showing you food, cribs,
Let me
everything.
see that evidence.
And things took a weird turn when Miss Moyet shared how she planned this pregnancy by showing up at Mr. Lester's house on her special day. The drama was thick in the air, and it was only about to get thicker.
I actually planned this pregnancy. I went over his house the day I was ovulating, and I let him know I'm ovulating. I want to have a baby. We did nothing.
That is not true.
Yeah, we did nothing to prevent Nyla. To make matters even worse, since I've had Nyla.
The tension really hit high gear as the judge dug into their relationship timeline. The judge tells them both that not using protection isn't exactly smart, and oh boy, we can feel where this is going.
What she's saying is you were having unprotected sex with her then, and even since this child's birth, you're still having unprotected sex with her, that you are a possible father.
I understand that, Your Honor.
So do you agree that you had with her during the time when Nyla was conceived?
Yes, I did.
The cringe level spikes when Mr. Lester Lester starts listing all the reasons he thinks he's not the dad. But let's be real, this was barely making his case stronger.
My first doubt, when I first met Miss Moyet, she told me her name was Mia. Come to find out her name was Iris. I left her name in my contents as Mia because she was always missing in action. She told me out of her own mouth she had a boyfriend. She didn't appreciate that I wasn't spending time with her, and that's better than me, and I asked her, well, why you calling me tonight?
The courtroom vibes hit awkward as Mr. Lester claims they always use protection. Miss Moyet fires back, no, we didn't. She looks at the judge like, why would I lie about this? The judge just sighs, clearly over their back and forth, as things start getting even more confusing.
We always had protected sex.
We had protected sex, Your Honor.
Mr. and I have never had protected sex.
Only I know how old I am, and I know what sex leads to. And I just want to point out to you the percentages, having babies and how it declines.
Some more research.
Yes.
This part's where Judge Lake hits us with some real talk, and it's actually kind of sweet. It's like she's giving life advice while still knee-deep in all this drama.
Do you hear what he's saying?
Yes, Your Honor.
I know when you say you had the love of an older man, it was filling a void you felt for not having the love of your father. You were saying that. Regardless of what this result is today, I don't want you running around behind him. Do you understand me?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're better than that, and you deserve more than that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right?
The big moment everyone's been waiting for is here.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Lester, you are Nyla's father.
Yes! Yes!
Ma'am.
Didn't I tell you?
You need to be respectful.
Didn't I tell you?
Oh boy, buckle up because this case starts wild and only gets crazier. With that opening, things are about to get heated and totally messy.
Mr. Dark, you say the defendant is a promiscuous liar who broke your heart 4 years ago, stepping out on your then relationship. You admit to having a one-night stand with her 2 years ago, but are furious. Ms. Bailey is now claiming you fathered her 11-month-old son, which you say is impossible.
This backstory is like the soap opera you never asked for. You just know that's going to come back around and bite someone later.
We was in a relationship for about 4 years. Everything was okay. Everything was pretty good when I first met her. Some good conversations about establishing us a family and probably having kids. We lived together at that time. I left to go out of town to do some work. Went to Florida to do some work in Florida. While I was going to Florida to do some work, I talked to Ms. Bailey about almost every day.
Get ready, because here comes the I cheated, because you cheated circus act. And trust me, that's not even the half of it. Things are just warming up.
We went on to the store. Well, while we was going to the store, her friend started to tell me a story. She was like, well, I just want to tell you something. She was like, well, the whole time that you was gone, she was cheating on you.
Her best friend told you
This
that?
is what her best friend told me.
And I only did it because I thought you was cheating on me.
Okay.
So you admit you cheated on him?
I did.
And so your best friend told on you?
Yep.
This is where it all starts getting wilder, with Mr. Dark basically saying, wait, do the math. Suddenly, we've got more questions than answers, and Mr. Dark's math skills are being put to the test big time.
With the calculation and the date she's using, Mr. Dark, you're saying this would only been 8 months.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
you believe she was already pregnant when you all were intimate in March.
She had to be already pregnant. And so I guess I was just a crutch.
Whatever.
From the beginning, I was there at the hospital when Jameer was born, even with my doubt, because in the back of my mind, I didn't never want to feel like, okay, he really was my son and I didn't do the things that I was supposed to do as a father.
The birth certificate story is a doozy because Mr. Dark says he only signed it because Ms. Bailey pressured him big time. He's now totally regretting that decision, and we're all wondering what this could mean when the DNA results come in.
And the reason why I signed the birth certificate, to answer your question, is because you told me at the hospital that if I didn't sign it right then I wouldn't have another opportunity to sign it. That's what you told me right there at the hospital.
I didn't force you to sign it. You signed it on your own.
Sign it, what was gonna happen? He won't have your last name. You won't get to sign it. Did you not say that? You know you said that.
I did not tell you that. No, I said, okay, if you don't sign it, okay, that's on you.
If you thought this was a one-time drama, think again. Ms. Bailey's got a history. Now he's wondering if this is a repeat performance, and everyone in the courtroom is starting to question what's really going on here.
Ms. Bailey, have you been in a paternity situation before?
I have, with my ex.
So one of your other children, there was a paternity question surrounding that?
Yes, that he wasn't.
The biological father. Do you know who your child's biological father?
Yes, I do.
History is repeating itself in this moment for you.
Oh, and just when you thought this couldn't get any messier, here comes Mr. Dark's current girlfriend with her own opinions. Now, we've got love triangles, timelines, and all sorts of drama flying around the courtroom, just like a daytime TV show.
First, in my personal opinion, I don't feel like the baby looks like him.
So you do not feel like there is a physical resemblance?
No. Well, my due date is November 19th. My conception date is February 24th.
And we're now 1 year later, but what you're saying is that you have a similar due date.
Even though he's got doubts, Mr. Dark says he's been there for Jameer anyway, taking him to family gatherings and giving him some dad time. But even with all this family drama, he's trying to be a responsible guy, and the big DNA test is just around the corner.
Jameer is 11 months old. What has been your relationship?
I was in Jameer's life. I've been a part of his life. I've kept him. I took him to Alabama with me when I went to my granny's funeral last month, and my whole family said that that's not your child.
So when Jameer with you to your family member's funeral.
Yes, ma'am. The judge doesn't mince words here, laying down some tough truths about legal responsibility. It's a serious moment, and you can see Mr. Dark wondering if he should have brought a calculator to figure this all out sooner.
But Judge, I just like, it's so much she say I don't want to do for him. I bought him probably like about 15 ones when he first was born and some
Did not
stuff.
buy him nothing.
And I took him to her or whatever, but
It
because
was
of the
clothes
fact
that was
that
already worn for someone
because
else.
of the fact had gave me these things or whatever,
Okay,
but
so
it
why
was
would you
because
say you something
her
you
baby
never
never
bought
won.
that
They
to?
were
Well, let me be clear.
It's finally time for the big reveal, and let's just say, does not disappoint. The DNA results come in, and guess what?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Dark, you are the father.
This past Father's Day, Memphis, Tennessee saw it in them to award me with Community Father of the Year award. The mayor was there and state representatives was there. So Caden will not fall short on a daddy or a father when it comes down to that.
That is great to hear.
Get ready for some real-life drama that feels like a movie. Judge Lake kicks off Lee v. Lee, where Mr. Lee accuses his wife, Miss Lee, of cheating multiple times and now questions if he's really the dad of their 11-month-old daughter. But if you think this sounds intense already, just wait. Miss Lee's backstory is next, and it's got some wild surprises.
Mr. Lee, you say your wife, Ms. Lee, conceived a child after cheating numerous times during your marriage. Now, you claim your family disowned you because of her infidelity, and now your marriage is on the brink of divorce. You petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove that you are not father of Ms. Lee's 11-month-old daughter, Carolyn Lee.
You won't believe how their love story starts, like a mix of romance and reality TV. Miss Lee says they met at a hotel party and felt instant sparks, totally falling for each other right away. Sounds sweet, right? Well, things take a left turn as soon as a Bon Jovi lookalike enters the picture.
I was actually getting ready to go on a date with somebody, and I got a phone call from a friend of mine to come to this hotel party to meet somebody else that actually wasn't even Mr. Lee. And I get there and our eyes met, started talking that night. I heard him speaking a little bit of Spanish, and we started making out the whole night. We kissed heavily. The next morning, we exchanged numbers that night as well because we made out the whole night, didn't even remember each other's names.
So, just 1 week after this love at first sight moment, things get, interesting. But believe it or not, this Bon Jovi moment was just the beginning. Soon, Mr. Lee's whole family gets involved in the chaos.
She stayed there with me for a few days, and then, like, the following week, she started cheating on me with a guy she claimed that looked like Bon Jovi. She has...
The following week?
Yeah, well, she said he looked like Bon Jovi. I said he looks more like the Wolfman.
I have a celebrity
week
obsession.
later?
Yes, I have a celebrity obsession in this guy he looked like Bon Jovi. He's just jealous.
Just when you think things can't get crazier, they totally do. Mr. Lee's family can't believe he's still with her, so they end up disowning him for choosing her over them. And then, just when things seem complicated enough, the couple finds out they're going to have a baby.
I got a little pissed off because, I mean, at the time, you know, my family disowned me. I had no friends.
Why did
She
your
was a
family
coworker.
disown you?
Because she cheated on me and I chose her over them, and they didn't like that.
Her anymore?
Yes, and I didn't do what they wanted, so they threw me out.
Just because you went back to somebody, they threw you out?
It's messed up, I know, but...
He was spending
All right.
If you thought pregnancy would calm things down, think again. It just makes things even messier. He's torn between his love for her and the nagging question in his mind. Is this baby even his? But don't think he's ready to give up yet.
When you find out she's pregnant, do you believe the child is yours?
Yeah, at first, she's my wife. Wouldn't, I mean, if you were in my shoes, wouldn't you believe that?
I don't know.
I mean... Yeah, I get it.
I'm not going to
I
sit
get
up
it.
here and lie.
I mean, she
I don't know.
cheated on me before, but I figured why not stick around?
Things had gotten a little better.
Yeah, things
So
had
you
gotten-
felt like trust.
I felt like I could trust her. I felt like that this was my kid.
At this point, you've got to wonder how Mr. Lee has stayed so committed. It's clear he's been through a lot and has high hopes, but this test is going to be the real game changer.
I do love her. I mean, I realize people have problems. People do things that they're not proud of. I mean, who among us has not?
Now you stand here after saying you love her and you don't leave her, but now you're saying you're gonna divorce her.
The love's still there. We just, if baby's
We're
not
going
his,
through
we
the
can't
motions.
stay together.
We've decided that the baby isn't mine. We're just not going to stay together.
This part is like a soap opera. Mr. Lee talks about being there when Carolyn was born and signing her birth certificate, saying he's been trying to be a father and a husband through it all. You can feel the tension, as he says he doesn't want to live a lie, but it's only going to get more emotional when Miss Lee's mom steps in.
Take your time.
I was there when she was born. I signed the birth certificate, everything.
So you signed the birth certificate.
I just don't want to live a lie. I want to know if this is my daughter or not.
If he is not Carolyn's biological father, do you know who is?
No, Your Honor.
If things weren't complicated enough, Miss Lee's mom joins in with her own twist on the story. But hey, no one knows for sure yet, and the truth is still to come.
She never saw really any happiness in my household. I feel bad for that. I was not a great mother to her, but she got kind of taken by my mother and my stepfather. They had her most of the time. But she did not see good things going on in the household. She saw a lot of fighting, and so she got into the dishonesty herself, lived what she saw.
Here it is, the big moment that's been building up this whole time. Judge Lake reads the DNA results, and
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Lee, you are Carolyn's father.
I told you. I told you.
Mr. Miles shows up in court claiming he's the father of his 37-year-old daughter, Christine, who he hasn't seen in over 2 decades. Just wait until Christine hits him with her first question.
Mr. Miles, you are in court today to prove to your 37-year-old daughter, Christine, that you are her father. You admit you initially denied paternity when she was a baby, but are here to right your wrong. But she now wants to prove you are not her biological father.
Things get messier than a bowl of spaghetti when Christine lays out her doubts. He says he's trying to make things right now, but Christine's not letting him off that easy. Next up, he tries to explain what happened way back when.
I don't believe you're my father. My mom says you are not my father. You've been absent for 37 years. Why? Why now?
Your mom said that I was your father. Why she changed her story, I have no idea. But that's not the truth. And why now I had the opportunity to be able to look for you because I wanted to see who you are and who your family was.
If this backstory had a theme song, it would definitely be a country breakup song. He only found out he owed child support much later, which leads Christine to question where he's been all these years. Spoiler alert, he's got more excuses.
I didn't know about the child support at that time. I was just named as a father.
You were named the legal father, then makes you responsible for child support. You're just out there, you're dating a young woman, you love her, you all get together, then you break up. You were never informed. When she found out she was pregnant, she never called you to say, I'm pregnant.
No, Judge.
Now Christine starts sharing her side, and it's honestly a tough listen. Just when you think the emotions can't get any heavier, Christine reveals a twist about those child support payments.
I was really bad as a student. I got in a lot of trouble. I went to foster care 4 years. I went through lots of therapy to forget all this, and I'm back today.
But you're strong, and you're not alone, because we're here with you.
Thank you.
And so this was very difficult for you.
Very difficult.
And here comes the plot twist no one saw coming. Surprise, Mr. Miles owes a mountain of child support. He says he got the shock of his life when he found out he owed $28,000 in back payments, right there on his tax return. Next up, she spills about the one time she actually met Mr. Miles.
In 1992, we filed our taxes. Taxes came back, and there's a letter, $28,000 in back child support. And that just shocked me. Like I said, I just didn't have a clue that was even there.
And you didn't try to find out then?
I did.
What did you do to try to find her, Mr. Miles?
Back then, there was no internet, no cell phones. All you had was people that you knew and telephone lines.
Imagine meeting your maybe dad for one night, and then crickets. Mr. Miles remembers it differently, saying he thought he invited her to live with him, but clearly they're not on the same page. And just when it seems like things might calm down, the judge brings out a bombshell from Christine's mom.
Well, I met Mr. Miles one time when I was 16. He came to my grandparents' house. My grandparents actually let me go stay the night with him and his wife. I was never told about them until that very day.
I thought we did, hit it off pretty good. I think I asked her if she wanted to come live with us, if that was something that was going to be
willing to take her in as ours.
Right when you think you've heard it all, Christine's mom drops a statement that changes everything. Mr. Miles doesn't seem to care, though. He's convinced they have a bond. Just wait till you hear what Christine says about reconnecting with him now.
Because when we were in the court, she said I was the father. So after that, I assumed she would tell her that I was the father because that's what happened in court.
Why would she name her after his mother? Why would she go after him for child support?
He said he wanted to play dad.
Yeah, I wasn't even with her then.
That's what she said.
He was never with her.
Yeah.
He is still yet to contact her mother since that.
Here's the moment everyone's been waiting for, and it's like the air gets sucked out of the room. The judge reads the DNA results, and the truth is,
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Miles, you are not the father.
buckle up everyone, this one's gonna be wild. Miss Collins is here to prove that Mr. Stone is her daughter, Samara's dad, saying he bailed when he heard she was pregnant. Things are already heating up, and we're just getting started.
Miss Collins, you have dragged the defendant to court to prove he is the biological father of your 4-year-old daughter, Samara. You say one day of bliss became a lifetime of hell when Mr. Stone up and disappeared when you revealed to him you were pregnant.
Miss Collins spills the tea on how she met Mr. This is where the plot twist kicks in. Now she's pregnant, and she's gotta let Mr. Stone know he might be the dad.
Me and Mr. Stone met on a dating site. I seen his profile. I thought he was kind of handsome, and obviously he thought I was cute as well because he messaged me back. So we had a few conversations until one day we decided that we will meet up. We were drinking. Well, why don't you just stay the night? You know, you've been drinking anyway. Why don't you just, crash here? So later on that night, one thing led to another, and we had sex.
Miss Collins remembers calling up Mr. Stone, all like, hey, I'm pregnant, and this could be yours. This mix-up only makes the whole situation messier, and they're both sticking to their stories.
I went to a doctor. This was at, I think, the beginning of June. The doctor told me I was about a month long. So I'm like, okay. So after that, I give Mr. Stone a call. I let him know. I said, hey, I'm pregnant, and there's a possibility that you might be the father.
She never said possibility.
Yes, I did. I told him I was pregnant, and it might be a possibility that the baby would be his.
Miss Collins says she tried to stay in contact, but Mr. Stone up and moved to Arizona and went off the grid. They both look at each other like, seriously? The mystery of who ghosted who is on, and now everyone's got questions.
Man, so she gave me the call. I was in Arizona. She's like, well, the person I thought that was the father of the baby is not. And then she said, the other person that might have been a possibility to be the father also is not.
2 additional people besides you.
Besides me.
No, I didn't, Your Honor.
Mr. Stone shows up with evidence saying he tried to do DNA tests several times, and guess who didn't show? Miss Collins says she either didn't know or had stuff going on, and now Mr. Stone's got trust issues. It's a classic game of he said, she said, and at this point, they're still pointing fingers.
I get a phone call from the court where she lives at. We show up, can't do the test for whatever reason. They say that they'll be in touch. Well, I go back a second time. I drove all the way up there. Guess who didn't show? Miss Collins did not show. She suggested that we do a at-home DNA test. So I was like, I don't really trust that. I don't know if that's not a doctor, but she said, I'll pay for it. I said, okay.
Miss Collins throws in a curveball. Her daughter Kimara has hypoglycemia, which she claims runs in Mr. Stone's family. The health stuff is only adding to the chaos here, and both are still looking for answers.
A few years back, my daughter, she got sick. Come to find out she's hypoglycemic. Now, that does not run on my side of the family. So what I do, I'll give Mr. Stone a phone call, and he says, yes, I do believe that do run in my family.
Anybody could have hypoglycemia. I'm not the only person on this earth. I'm sure there's a whole lot of us. It doesn't run in my family. Maybe the other guy runs in his family. I don't know.
Dr. Brown Parks swoops in to clear things up on hypoglycemia, saying it could actually be genetic. The doc gives her medical opinion, and everyone's waiting on the DNA test to see who's got it right.
So first off, hypoglycemia is simply low blood sugar. It can happen for a variety of reasons. There's a level at which we just have chosen that below 50 milligrams per deciliter when they take your blood. Most common cause is from people who are diabetic or hyperglycemic. It drops their blood sugar too low. It is indeed.
Judge Lake finally opens the DNA envelope, and surprise!
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Stone, you are the father.
Right from the start, the drama is real, and you can just feel that this one's gonna be intense. Let's just say he's got a lot of doubts, and he's ready to get some answers.
Mr.
Here, buckle up, because they just did. Ms. Nadeau gets a major reality check as she recalls the shock of learning her first child was actually fathered by Mr. Zara's best friend. The audience gasped hanging out, though he admits it wasn't exactly steamy. So yeah, the witness doesn't exactly have the smoking gun, but he's dead. Here comes Mr. McCaffrey, and he's not shy about spilling the details. Crowd's in shock, and it's clear this love triangle, or square, is getting harder and harder to keep track of.
You hear this testimony?
Yes.
You admit you were intimate with Ms. Nadeau?
Yes.
If you don't let him testify for himself.
Just when you thought you'd heard it all, Judge Lake pulls up the weather report. With snow confirmed, everyone's looking back to the real. Here it is, the big moment everyone's been waiting for.
It has been determined by this court that her father is Mr. Zara.
You want to tell everybody how sorry you are?
This is one crazy situation right off the bat. Ms. McGowan tells the court how, just after her husband passed away, she met Mr. Martin online. But get ready, because this story only gets messier.
Ms. McGowan, you say after the death of your husband, you were trying to find your way, but ended up finding a man on the internet, had sex with him, and 2 weeks later you discovered that you're pregnant. Now you claim the defendant, Mr. Martin, is without a doubt the biological father of your 8-month-old baby, Caden.
And just like that, Mr. Martin fires back with some seriously shady doubts. But wait till you hear why he thinks he's off the hook.
Mr. Martin, you say there's no way you're biological father, and you claim to have a mile-long list of doubts that will clear your name today in court. One main reason is that you believe the man she's currently living with, who will join us shortly, is baby Caden's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Martin then proudly admits he hasn't done a single thing for Caden because in his mind, it's not his problem. And just when you think Mr. Martin might start acting responsible, he doubles down.
Mr. Martin,
yes,
you've done nothing for the child?
No, I did nothing. Because some fact, first night we had sex. The first day we met each other, we had sex. The reason why I don't believe it, this is my child, because she's very promiscuous. And when you have sex with a woman first day, that's red flag anyway.
Did you use protection?
No,
No,
Now this is just some wild math Mr. Martin is doing to dodge responsibility. And just when you think he'll finally take the hint, here comes Ms. McGowan with some big proof.
After it happens, and then there's a baby on the way, how you can doubt.
Because there was other men involved. Out of one of the potential men, others.
Okay.
So therefore, I cannot be that one. You know what I'm saying?
What math are you doing? How do you exclude yourself from the number of men that could potentially be her child's father?
Day she had sex with another guy.
Oh my God.
If things weren't messy enough, Ms. McGowan brings out her own evidence with a calendar to back up her claim. But as if on cue, Mr. Brody himself steps up next, ready to share his side of the story.
Yes, I have the calendar of the date. You do. So you presented a calendar that outlines the date you were intimate with Mr. Martin.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's April 2nd.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're intimate with Mr. Martin on the 2nd. The doctor tells you your conception date is estimated at April 3rd.
And here's where things get even juicier. Mr. Brody jumps in and says he's actually been playing the dad role this whole time. This guy isn't holding back, and it's about to get even more emotional.
I've been there. Tina and I, Miss McGowan and I have been messing around since February. I just pray that he's mine. I really do. Because when he was born, he looked like me. He was a little light-skinned red baby. He had my cow licks and everything. In the NIC unit, when they took him from his mother when he stopped breathing.
Mr. Brody isn't just a maybe dad. He's been fully committed to the role, and it shows. But the stakes get higher as Judge Lake gets ready to address the whole messy love triangle.
This past Father's Day, Memphis, Tennessee saw it in them to award me with Community Father of the Year award. The mayor was there and state representatives was there. So Caden will not fall short on a daddy or a father when it comes down to that.
That is great to hear.
Here it is, the moment of truth that flips everything on its head.
It has been determined by this court. His biological father is Mr. Martin.
That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up.
Oh man, this is just the start, and it's already pretty wild. And let me tell you, things are about to get even weirder.
Ms. Morris, you've petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove that the defendant is the father of your 1-month-old son, Jackson. You hope these results will save your family because you have 2 other kids together.
Okay, this is just bonkers. Mr. Byram talks about how he found out about Ms. Morris's little secret rendezvous with his own friend, no less. Yep, hiding in the attic. You won't believe the timeline of how long this has been going on.
Me and the dude she cheated on me with were hanging out the night before. We're really close friends. We stayed up all night, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. I wake up probably 7 o'clock. He's already gone. She fought with me the night before so she can leave and stay at her grandma's house. She was over there with the kids. I seen him on the couch. That's when I started banging on the doors and the windows. I go in the house. He's hiding up in the attic of her grandma's house.
You think it couldn't get any messier? Think again. Ms. Morris says she was already being accused of cheating anyway, but what she reveals next about her dates will leave you laughing and cringing.
We were having trouble way before I even slept with his friends. He's always constantly telling me I'm cheating. It's been happening for 4 years now.
He keeps accusing you, so you just go ahead and validate the accusation?
Well, we split up for a month, and he was living down the street at his friends, and he was dating a different girl, and I was staying in the house with the guy, the other potential father.
The timeline on these hookups is all kinds of messy. And yeah, just when you think that's wild enough, the details keep coming. overwhelming.
You say you are certain he's the father of Jackson. When did you sleep with him?
September 27th.
She could have slept with him the same day.
I slept with him on September 25th. That's why we're here today for the result.
Oh, so you slept with the other guy September 25th?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yep, things keep getting complicated. Ms. Morris says she's been in contact with the other guy's mom, wants to be in Jackson's life if he's her grandson. But of course, Mr. Byram is not too thrilled, and his reaction to this, classic.
Did you tell the other guy, Miss Morris, that he could be the father as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
She's still talking to his mom about it.
No.
Sending his mom pictures of the baby.
So when the baby was first born, I sent her pictures of the baby because she was asking me how much he was. No, I did not.
Yeah, you did.
About how much, not an everyday thing. It only happened twice.
Tension in their home is so thick you could spread it on toast. Ms. Morris can see this, and things get even stranger after this.
Yes, he does. He shows my other two way more attention than he shows him.
Do you blame me?
You do admit you're having a hard time bonding with Jackson because you don't know.
I still buy him clothes, toys, and do whatever for him, but I keep my distance from him because I don't know if he's my son.
Here, Mr. Byram's doubts are loud and clear. And Ms. Morris, oh, she's about to spill the tea on some major regrets.
You helped her out the entire time? You came when the baby was born?
I was there.
I
held the baby first.
Did you sign the birth certificate?
No, I did not. I just kept looking at him and thinking about what she did to me, and I just can't treat him the same as my other kids because I know for a fact that those other babies are mine, and I love them to death. I just can't love him full on, love him until I know that he is my flesh and blood. I just can't. Never.
It's apology time, and Ms. Morris really starts to feel it. But Mr. Byram's response, just wait. It's not what you'd expect.
I can see behind your eyes a lot of sadness.
Yes, Your Honor.
You know you've made a mistake.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you regret the mistake you made?
I regret cheating, but I don't regret my son. I mean, I would never regret a kid regardless of what happened. But I do regret cheating.
You do?
Yes.
This is it, the big moment. And whoa, the truth is wild.
It has been determined by Mr. Byram. You are the father.
Yes. Yes.
Another man carry another man's baby, point blank, period. Like
another man carry
another man after she gave birth. She had the guy all up in her baby's face.
That was a family member.
No, you said that was your boyfriend. Let's get it right, shorty. 2012 or 13. There you go right there. He all
That's a family member.
No,
He
that's
has
your
not.
boyfriend.
So if he's your daughter's father, why is it he doesn't have anyone to contact?
Because I'm always changing my number. Like, I change my number like 3 times out of a month.
Why?
Because certain people have my number and I don't want them having my number, so I just changed my number.
But if this man could be your child's father, how can they keep up with their child?
Mr. Clark starts off confidently declaring, "I'm the dad," and is ready to prove it with a DNA test to spend more time with LaKearney. But Ms. Bolden drops a bomb, claiming the real dad is Mr. Moore. The drama kicks off with popcorn-worthy tension, and we're just getting started.
Mr. Clark, you're here to prove to Ms. Bolden that you are the biological father of her 3-year-old daughter, LaKearney Clark. And once the DNA results prove you're right, you want to be able to spend more time with your daughter. You say that you've always told Mr. Clark he was not daughter's father and hope that once these results are revealed...
Ms. Bolden reveals she cheated on Mr. Clark after an argument about bills. She admits she called up Mr. Moore that night, and things escalated, possibly leading to LaKearney's conception. This love triangle is heating up fast, and it's pure chaos.
One day we had an argument about bills, as usual, about his half on the bills. Stormed out the door, so I stormed out the door too. I called Mr. Moore, and we had got a hotel room, and that night I had sex with Mr. Moore. That's the night I think I conceived.
And so you were dating Mr. Clark?
Right.
Mr. Clark signed the birth certificate, sure LaKearney was his. But Ms. Bolden admits she hinted he might not be the dad, without pushing the issue. Now, the confusion between them is setting the stage for more twists.
Were you at the hospital when the baby was born?
Out Your Honor.
Signed the birth certificate?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Bolden, all this is going on, and he's signing the birth certificate, and he thinks this is his child, and you know, in your mind, you say that it's not?
Yes.
So during your pregnancy, during the child's birth, did you ever say anything, give a hint?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Clark describes his magical bond with LaKearney, calling her his princess. He's adamant she's his daughter and won't let anyone say otherwise. But just as things turn sweet, the drama thickens.
I mean, we stayed arguing all the time. She made statements, I guess just to hurt me, that she wasn't mine, but yet and still, I had no doubt in my mind that little girl is mine. I always felt like she was my daughter, and I feel like this still. Whenever me and LaKearney meet, it's magic, you know what I'm saying? And she's very happy when she sees me.
Mr. Moore believes he might be the dad, but hasn't been involved due to Ms. Bolden's changing contact info. He claims he'll step up if proven the father, but but his track record has everyone doubting him. Suspense is building fast.
So if he's your daughter's father, why is it he doesn't have any way to contact?
Because I'm always changing my number. Like, I change my number like 3 times out of a month.
Why?
Because certain people have my number and I don't want them having my number, so I just changed my number.
But if this man could be your child's father, how can they keep up with their child?
Mr. Moore's sister insists LaKearney resembles their family and must be her niece. She says her family supports LaKearney despite the uncertainty, but mixed signals from Ms. Bolden keep everyone guessing.
What I know is that's my niece.
You do?
Yes, ma'am. I know from day one that that little girl was my niece. I make sure she get things for her birthday. I just spend time with her.
And why are you so certain?
Because she looks just like us. Nose, mouth, everything. She even act like us.
You have her number?
No, ma'am.
On Facebook.
Mr. Clark's witness accuses Ms. Bolden of flip-flopping on who the dad is. They point out LaKearney calls Mr. Clark daddy, sealing his claim. The tension is like a soap opera, and the DNA results are about to drop.
So you believe LaKearney is Mr. Clark's child?
Yes, Your Honor, a little bit.
Because at first you're saying Ms. Bolden told Mr. Moore it was not his child.
Yes, ma'am.
And LaKearney calls me daddy.
She called me dad too.
Yes.
Ms. Bolden, does she call both men daddy?
Yes, she do.
Is that confusing for her?
Yes, it is.
It has been determined by this court that the biological father is Mr. Clark.
This was wild right away. 2 women, 1 child, and 0 chill in the courtroom. Miss Lusk says her daughter, Samarai, belongs to her late boyfriend, Desmond. But Miss Page, Desmond's mom, disagrees. She's convinced Desmond was with someone else and claims she didn't even know Miss Lusk existed.
You and your mother say you have no doubt whatsoever when it comes to knowing who your 3-year-old daughter, Samari's biological father is. Unfortunately, the man you claim is her father has died, and now you find yourself facing off against his mother, who is just as convinced that she is not your daughter's grandmother.
Things heat up when money enters the chat. Miss Page accuses Miss Lusk of chasing a $50,000 insurance payout, saying it's all about the cash. Miss Lusk claps back, insisting it's about her daughter's recognition, not money, as tensions hit the roof.
And so this insurance policy is in the amount of $50,000 you submitted that paperwork to the court. It is your testimony today that Ms. Lusk is attempting to get a portion of that money. That's why she's claiming your deceased son is her child's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor. I never heard of Miss Lusk. Your son was in a committed relationship.
Somehow, Facebook makes this mess even wilder. Miss Page claims she learned about the pregnancy from a post, but wasn't convinced Miss Lusk was really pregnant. Miss Lusk explains she only found out later, adding more drama to the mix.
Well, I'm thinking that someone told me via Facebook or something like that.
No, ma'am.
Do you know what happened?
I contacted Miss Page through Facebook to tell her to call me. She called me, and that's when I broke the news to her about my daughter being pregnant by her son. The very first thing she said to me is, my son is a legend. My son has women coming out the woodwork. She seemed proud.
Things get soap opera intense over Samurai's last name. Miss Lusk gave her Desmond's last name, Page, sparking outrage from Miss Page, who says it wasn't her call. Miss Lusk defends her choice, firing up the courtroom even more.
So you gave Samari Desmond's last name?
Without my permission.
We don't need your permission. It was permission when I laid down and was intimate with him.
No,
that's
it's not,
permission.
It's not been
that's
proven.
permission.
It's not been proven.
But it will be today.
You're not
but it
his
will
wife.
be correct. I don't have to be, and you're not either. You wasn't in the room, Miss
I'm
Page.
his mother.
And I'm his baby mother.
No, you're not.
Yes, ma'am.
The tension shifts as emotions spill out. Judge Lake steps in, pointing out Miss Page's grief over Desmond may be fueling her doubts. She urges both women to stop the public drama and focus on facts, calming things. For now,
Miss Page is grieving. She doesn't even have a person to review these facts with. She can't say to her son, Desmond, I need to talk to you about this, this, and this, so I can get an understanding. But much of this pain and animosity that is coming out in your testimony is because you do feel like you have a situation before you.
plot twist. Another girlfriend enters the story. Miss Lusk didn't know Desmond had a long-term relationship until after he passed. She discovered her pregnancy days after his funeral, adding another layer to this tangled web.
Were you aware that Desmond was in another relationship with someone else?
No, Your Honor. I didn't find out until the day of and the day after his passing.
So how did you find that out?
Facebook, social media. That's when, I believe 4 days after his passing, that's when I took my own pregnancy test and found out I was pregnant. That was April 24th. His funeral was April 27th. I didn't go to his funeral.
The judge raises a tough question. Will Miss Page build a relationship with Samurai if she's proven Desmond's daughter? Miss Page hesitates, unsure if she can handle the drama, but the judge pushes her to consider what's best for Samurai.
If, in fact, this beautiful baby girl is your late son,
son's biological daughter. Do you want to have a relationship with her?
I can't answer that.
Why is that?
Plus, it's too much drama.
And it's too much for me as well because you caused the drama.
The moment of truth.
It has been determined by this court. The probability of relatedness between Ms. Page and Samari Page is 99.96%.
This kicks off wild. Mr. Williams claims Ms. tricked him into paying child support for 22-year-old Clarissa, despite always using condoms. He's here to prove he's not the dad and fight $36,742.43 in debt. It's messy from the start, and spoiler, it only gets crazier.
Mr. Williams, you have brought Ms. Annette Smith to court today claiming she scammed you into paying child support on her 22-year-old daughter, Clarissa. You say you use condoms at all times, so you cannot be Clarissa's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Williams says child support wiped him out, leaving him with just $7 after 11-hour workdays. A car accident added to his woes, making him miss court. And just when it seems rough enough, it's time for Ms. Smith's side.
Woke up 5 o'clock in the morning, spent 11 hours on the job. Usually it's an $80 a day, turned to a $7 a day based on child support. So I'm like, I can't do this. I can't work 11-hour day for $7, and I made income enough to get away. But what happened is I was working at a place, and I got into a bad car accident. Kind of took me out, but the settlement was allowed me to move.
Ms. Smith insists they had a real relationship, and he picked baby names, while Mr. Williams denies it all. It's a tense stare-down, leading to a clash over missed DNA tests. Drama level high.
You say this was a real relationship?
Yes, ma'am, it was. There you go, right there.
You all were boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yes.
No.
At the point that you realized you were pregnant, before that, were you sleeping with anybody else besides Mr. Williams?
No.
When you found out you were pregnant, did you tell him?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
What day?
What was his
The
reaction?
same night.
Night?
Yep.
What night?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
Forgot
no,
the name that he wanted me to name, but he wanted me to have a boy.
What?
Mrs. Smith says Mr. Williams missed court-ordered DNA tests due to an address mix-up. He claims it was deliberate so he'd keep paying. It's like arguing over 22-year-old spilled milk. Messy and expensive.
When I was on Public Assistant,
Where'd you
they
get that
asked
from?
Eli to come down here for the blood test. Eli declined. He didn't want
No.
to show up.
Did you have
Yes,
an
it is.
opportunity to take a DNA
No, I
test,
did
sir,
not.
and you didn't?
No, I didn't.
And I got his
Because
address
for
when I
one,
went to
let me
California
tell
to
you.
see him.
See, and now she moving too far ahead for herself because when she went to
'Cause I'm
California,
telling the truth.
she went to California to scope out my situation.
Mr. Williams accuses Ms. Smith of tampering with condoms, claiming she's a sneaky ninja. Ms. Smith's disbelief is palpable, and the courtroom teeters between gasps and laughs. Then, Clarissa herself enters the scene.
So, Mr. Williams, you say you always used condoms.
As far as I know, always use condoms. What I do know is she used to take my condoms off to the bathroom, and whatever she did in the bathroom with that condom, because I used to lay there, well, I'll take care of that for you. You never said that.
What, I'm gonna take care of? I'm gonna put it on you too?
No, however
Who
you do
does
it with-
that?
You did.
Oh my Lord, you.
So what you're
That's why
saying?
you smiling.
What you're saying is you feel like there was foul play.
Clarissa shares how she grew up thinking Mr. Williams was her dad, but had little contact. It's an emotional moment as Mrs. Smith proudly highlights her achievements. The family drama has layers upon layers.
Is Mr. Williams the person you were always told was your biological father?
Yes.
You never were told anyone else could be your father?
No.
Do you remember him being in your life when you were growing up?
When I was 5, he would call me. That's all I remember.
But since then, you don't remember anything?
No.
You have not seen him?
No.
Holiday?
No.
Nothing?
By the time that was probably happening, probably when that child support started hitting me.
Ms. Smith praises Clarissa's 3.9 GPA and music skills, while Mr. Williams looks uncomfortable. Then, Clarissa delivers a heartfelt speech, ready to lay it all on the table.
You just want her to know her father?
Yes, ma'am, because he is missing out on so much. She made her own music, her own game videos. She's a 3.9.
And I can see you very proud of your daughter.
Very so much. And now this is the last closure. And this I wanted to be done with so she can blossom and be a good woman. Whether you in her life or not, because you done missed out.
Clarissa speaks about growing up without a dad, wanting support and love, but getting nothing. The room holds its breath as her words hit hard. The judge steps in to confront Mr. Williams with some tough truths.
You missed out on my entire life. I wanted to have a father to brag things about in my academic life. I wanted to explore someone to support me. You were never there. I wish you were. We could have had some fun. You stopped calling me. My mom tell me these stories about how much you two had so much fun.
The judge scolds Mr. Williams for ghosting a child, regardless of his doubts. She highlights the impact on Clarissa, and you can see him starting to understand, maybe. Then, it's time for the DNA results.
And you have to respect that, Mr. Williams, whether you believe she's your biological daughter or not. She was told you're her father.
Right.
Her mother has pictures of you looking like you happy she's here. Can you accept that?
If she's mine, I could accept that. But if she's not mine, I'll be more hurt than you imagine.
Mr. Williams, you are her father.
This story kicks off like a soap opera you didn't know you needed. Miss Garnett claims Mr. Langston is her dad and demands an apology for doubting it, but Mr. Langston claps back, saying he's always known she's not his daughter and wants her to say sorry. Get ready. This is no ordinary family drama.
Ms. Garnett, you and your mother, Ms. Miller, have opened your case to prove to the defendant that he is your biological father. You are baffled because you consider him a daddy and a best friend and state his doubt is unwarranted and demand an apology once the results are revealed.
Miss Garnett shares how Mr. Langston ghosted her after a funeral, sparking doubts he'd held onto since her birth. These doubts exploded after a random text, like a family firecracker. The plot thickens in ways you won't expect.
It started with a text message about a couple months ago. That wasn't the very beginning, but this is why we're here. Text message brought us here, and this is the evidence that I brought in today. Almost 2 years of reaching out to my father after visiting him in 2015, pleading to get him to respond. He wasn't responding, and he finally responded with this message.
At a funeral, Mr. Langston drops the bombshell that Miss Garnett might not be his daughter. Later, he takes it back, leaving her confused and heartbroken. This wasn't a joke, and things are about to get even messier.
2 years ago, when I was at the funeral with him, he had brought up for the very first time that he thought I may not have been his daughter, which blew my mind. He went on and on about him and my mother's past, all this, but then after he vomited all this tragedy on me, he recanted and took it back.
I was bearing up feeling because I seen the fact right away, and I'm not trying to hurt her. I love her.
Mr. Langston recalls seeing Ms. Miller with another man, which fueled his suspicions. Ms. Miller insists the man was just a friend, but Mr. Langston isn't buying it. This becomes one of his biggest reasons for doubting her paternity.
One day, she used to live out south. I came through the back. Her auntie downstairs let me in. I walked upstairs. I didn't knock on the door. I looked in. I see this guy sitting on the couch with her, like he running this game to get up on something. I knocked on the door. I said, what's going on? Ain't nothing. No, this is my cousin. I said, hey, you can get out of here, cousin. You can leave. But I don't believe it.
Mr. Langston reveals he paid child support for over 20 years, despite his doubts. Ms. Miller mentions a DNA test from years ago that was never followed up on. The fact that this lingered for decades is shocking.
I paid child support not only 18 years, I paid it 20 years.
But when
they
did you
started
start?
sending me checks back for overpayment, $1,700.
So how come you didn't take that $150,000, pay for a DNA test when before I turned 36 years old?
I'll tell you,
That's right.
I have the answer for you.
Miss Garnett shares how devastating it was when Mr. Langston's text made her question her identity. She'd always considered herself a Langston, and this shattered her world. Despite her pain, she takes bold steps to uncover the truth.
When he sent that text to me, I cried my hardest cry.
Oh, baby, don't do that.
I was devastated. I felt like he was taking my identity away from me because I've always known I was a Langston. I have so much about my father. When he came back into my life when I was an adult, it was like a piece of the puzzle was missing, and we became best friends.
Miss Garnett posts a photo with her grandfather, sparking comments about their resemblance. Even Mr. Langston sees it, but he's still unconvinced. The drama keeps building.
This picture, and it reminded me of this picture of my grandfather. This is Mr. Langston's father. And I noticed some similarities in our faces. I posted it to Facebook to get some support about the situation. I even had cousins respond, oh my goodness, you look just like Papa. I never realized that.
Ms. Miller is asked if she ever had a relationship with Mr. Langston's dad, which she denies. She insists Mr. Langston is the father, but the tension is palpable as the big reveal approaches.
Was there ever any type of relationship between you and Mr. Langston's father when you lived in the house with him?
A father and daughter. I looked at him like he was my family. I looked at his mom like she was my mom. I never looked at him in any other way.
And so there's absolutely no doubt in your mind that Mr. Langston is your daughter, Miss Garnett's biological father.
No doubt.
Mr. Langston, you are not the father.
This starts off like a soap opera, and it's wild. Miss Brugger claims her late fiancé, Parrish Brooks Sr., is the father of her son, while Ms. Warner, the grandma, denies it and accuses her of chasing money. Oh, and Grandma insists Parrish Sr. was sterile. Buckle up, it's about to get crazier.
Prove to the defendant that your son, Parrish Brooks Jr., was fathered by the defendant's grandson, who was tragically killed 2 months ago in an auto accident. Now, Ms. Warner, you are here with your granddaughter, and you don't believe Parrish Jr. is your great-grandson. You say the the plaintiff has dragged you to court today because she wants in on your family's land and oil trust.
Miss Brugger says she and Parrish Sr. were building a life together, and he was excited about the baby. She even has proof he claimed the baby as his own, but the family isn't buying it, and tensions are boiling over.
He's my son's father. We live together. Everything, we're in a relationship. He asked me to marry him. That is my son's father. He never denied my son. He was never told by a doctor. That was just him because he never had a child.
Me and Parrish clearly had a conversation before he passed that he wasn't sure. Chaz, I don't even think I can have kids.
Ms. Warner claims the baby doesn't resemble Parrish Sr. down to the vibe. Miss Brugger fires back, saying Parrish Sr. loved being a dad and treated her older kids like his own. Then, the bombshell. The family learned about his death on Facebook.
You did? I did go because of Parrish. Parrish was alive then. That was his baby. But to me, that's not his child. He loved the baby, Your Honor, but the baby doesn't even look like him. He doesn't act like him. His forehead's not like, there's nothing about him to tell me that that is my grandson.
My son looks, around
Where?
his eyes, he looks just like him.
No,
he looks like his grandpa.
Grandpa ain't never did nothing for Parrish. Well,
that's what y'all say.
Ms. Warner is livid she found out about Parrish Sr.'s death on Facebook. She accuses Miss Brugger of keeping the baby just to fulfill Parrish Sr.'s dream of fatherhood. Miss Brugger claps back, saying she's raising the child alone.
I got a phone call from one of my friends that seen it on Facebook. They had just found out that morning too.
They found it out on Facebook.
Someone else called the coroner's office. They released all of his information. So when I'm looking at Facebook at like 5 o'clock in the morning going to work, I see it. I call my grandmother. Grandma, have you heard anything about Parrish? I had just talked to Parrish the Friday that he died at like 10 o'clock in the morning.
Grandma accuses Miss Brugger of sneaking around with a guy she did hair for. Brugger denies it, saying he's just her brother's friend. The real drama? A babysitting fiasco that'll make you cringe.
Parrish felt that she used to have some dude come over to the house whose hair she was always doing.
Your Honor,
never got paid for it. Parrish didn't like that because he would call my grandmother and clearly stated.
He was saying she's broken, Grandma. I cannot fix her. He said she's crazy, Grandma. This guy keeps coming over there and doing her hair. And she's not even getting paid for doing his hair.
Ms. Warner babysat but didn't know how to feed the baby, leading to a night of chaos. To top it off, Miss Brugger says they didn't even secure the baby's car seat properly. It's a total mess.
We trusted you with my son when he was like 2 to 3 months.
But he's growing.
She did not feed my son all night.
No, it didn't go like that. Don't
she
say
brought
that.
him home
They didn't
in the car seat without him being strapped in.
Parrish
Parrish was even mad, and he said
I have to tell you that.
He would never let her keep our son.
What happened was
I'll tell you
pick
what
up the phone on his own.
Ms. Warner's granddaughter questions if they'll be allowed to see the baby if he's proven family. Miss Brugger argues they rarely tried to visit and left all the effort to her. It's getting even more heated.
If it comes back and that is his, is my grandma even going to be able to see the baby?
You cannot.
You act so funny. I wasn't there because my 1-year-old was sick.
I invited you
and
to
I
his
talked
birthday,
to you. And what did I
you
tell
didn't
you?
show up.
And what
so
did I
how
tell you?
are you guys
so I'm
going to say
bring another
that
baby.
I don't invite you guys? Did you
did
guys
come.
ever come to my house to see him? You came a couple times.
No,
you never
I didn't.
Did.
I have my own kid. Let's just be real
Parrish,
about it.
But how
I
many
have my
times
own.
Ms. Warner accuses Brugger of being after the family trust fund, but Brugger insists it's all for her son's future. Then Mr. Harvey, Parrish Sr.'s dad, steps in with emotional regret and support for the baby.
He was mad because he felt they were not embracing the fact that he finally did have a kid. You know, I thought I couldn't have kids for all these years. Now I have the son, and they're not embracing it. However they feel about me, but them trying to keep the ashes from my son, if my son is entitled to
I don't even have the ashes.
money, anything that he should be entitled to.
Mr. Harvey says Parrish Sr. loved being a dad and would never claim a baby that wasn't his. He sees a family resemblance and defends Miss Brugger, but the family's still skeptical as the DNA results are revealed.
He was proud of his son. He told me that was his son. The boy got a little bit of me in him. He looks like me.
We just want to make sure that little Parrish is Parrish's.
No.
And then it's just, he just looks nothing like him.
And the lack of
I used
family
to joke. Yeah, and I always used to joke with Parrish, like, no, he's too cute to be your baby.
Jr. is also related to Parrish Brooks Jr.
It kicks off with a bang. How does a two-night fling turn into this chaos? Miss Steinhardt claims Mr. Washington is the father of her baby, but he's denying it. Meanwhile, his fiancée, Miss Comer, is fuming, and the drama is just getting started.
Mr. Washington, you say the defendant, Ms. Steinhardt, was a two-night stand that went too far. And as a result, she's claiming you fathered her 3-month-old daughter, Amaya. Your fiancé, Ms. Comer, says your relationship is in turmoil because of Ms. Steinhardt, and you're both both desperate to prove you are not the father.
Why they're fighting. The pettiness is unreal. Mr. Washington thinks Miss Steinhardt wants to ruin his family, while she insists he needs to step up as a dad. Miss Comer's had enough, and the drama keeps escalating.
Well, the real reason is because she just wants my family.
Nobody wants your family. Nobody wants this man.
Call me every day when you was pregnant, knowing that I was pregnant with my child, to talking about your child like I was gonna even put my 2 cents in your conversation.
You're the only one asking for a DNA.
He said it in front of you when we had you on speaker on the phone.
Because
you had
he was
to
with
say
you.
How they met. Things went downhill fast after Mr. Washington met Miss Steinhardt during a fight with his fiancée. She says he even introduced her to his family, but Miss Comer's not buying it.
Me and my fiancée got into a little disagreement. I was staying at a friend's house, and I met Teresa over there.
Then we took it from there. We was together like that whole week.
When you say together, that means having sex?
No, like we was just like hanging out.
Okay.
He took me to his family member's house, introduced me to his family.
Let's get it straight, the basement of his family's house.
Caught in the act. Picture this. A street confrontation with Miss Comer catching them together. Chaos ensues as Mr. Washington tries to play it cool, but it's not working.
Basically, we was walking to the store and she was yelling from the other side of the block, like, oh, I see you.
And then I said, oh, I see ya over there. Then they started walking like this. They out, running, ghosts. But they was out, they was ghosts, nowhere to be found.
I don't know what you was on, but nobody was in ghost.
And you all were together at that time.
Yeah.
The photos that broke the courtroom. Miss Steinhardt shows cozy selfies with Mr. Washington, leaving Miss Comer furious. He admits to taking them, but claims they mean nothing.
So if your boyfriend was cheating, why would he be taking a whole bunch of pictures?
That's why he takes a lot of pictures.
He posted it on his page.
No, you posted it on your page, we heard.
So Mr. Washington, because I want to hear from Mr. Washington.
Hair from the dog himself.
Yeah.
Pregnancy plot twist. Miss Steinhardt says Mr. Washington told her to take a pregnancy test and then ghosted her. Miss Comer found out on social media, and things got even messier.
He called me and he was like, I think you need to take a pregnancy test because I think you're pregnant. Yes, you did.
I never called you. Try to contact us all the time.
You didn't call me?
No, I blocked your number.
You called me from a text-free number. Let's be real, because your phone was off. He asked me to take a pregnancy test, and I went down to the hospital and I took a pregnancy test and it came back positive, and I let him know.
The mystery man. A photo with another man holding the baby raises questions. Miss Steinhardt says he's just a family friend, but nobody's convinced.
Another man carry another man's baby, point blank, period. Like
another man carry
another man after she gave birth, she had the guy all up in her baby's face.
That was a family member.
No, you said that was your boyfriend. Let's get it right, shorty. That was my boyfriend since 2012 or 13. There you go right there. He all
That's a family member.
No,
he has
your boyfriend.
No dad in sight. Mr. Washington denies involvement with the baby, claiming she's not his. Miss Steinhardt accuses him of dodging responsibility, and the room's tension is palpable.
And so when you look at this beautiful baby, right?
And he was drunk when she took that picture.
No, he was not.
Yes, it was after his birthday.
Asleep.
She even told me, because she texted these pictures to me.
What's going on here? It looks like a dad.
Basically, I was at a family member's house. He wanted to see the baby, and I was like, sure.
The DNA shocker.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Washington, you are not the father.
Thank you. Now have a great day with your life.